And we're live. Gotta wait a second for.
Okay.
All right, we've got
Yeah.
Rodolfo, and he's gonna tell us about the Center for Blockchain Art. And I'm excited to hear what is on his mind. Take it away.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me and having me here. And thanks to everyone who has joined and has been joining these talks. Today, I'll promise not to be too boring. I'll just talk about the TCBA, the Thoreau Center for the Blockchain Arts, which is a personal project, actually, something I've been doing mostly alone with some help, but we'll get into it. So I'm assuming that some viewers haven't visited the builds I've made either on the central and on or crypto voxels, and I have not prepared a screencast or slides or anything, but I'll try to give you the links. I would rather have people visiting the places and taking a look at the collection if possible, rather than just showing some images of what I've been trying to do. So the TCBA, I will refer to it as TCBA as I usually do because the name is very long. It stands for the Thoreau Center for the Blockchain Arts. And first of all, the name is very important to me. Oh, hello. The name is very important to me, and it's an homage to the North American writer Thoreau because he wrote a lot about um, independence, sort of speaking, or self-reliance, most of all. And this is pretty much what the TCBA is all about. It's a personal project that I trying to keep independent and working on it in ways to keep it growing, but just using the resources I have, not trying to gather more resources or funding or whatever. So this started out in 2018 maybe. The, I also work as a crypto artist, as some of you may know, and I started selling some pieces. So at some point, I gathered some Ethereum, and I start buying people's art, other people's art, some of my colleagues in the crypto art scene. And at some point, because these ideas have been brewing in my mind for many years as an artist, it's mechanisms of distribution of art that interest me a lot, and the way people have access to art and whatnot. So these ideas have been brewing for some years in my mind now. But through crypto voxels and Decentraland in particular, or through virtual reality, these ideas became more easy to implement. So at some point, I think it was March 2019, maybe, I bought a parcel at Crypto Voxels. Decentraland was still developing. They weren't still live, and I had already got in touch with Anarchist International district leader on Decentraland because I heard that he was giving operator rights for people who wanted to build on their lands. So I got in touch with him and secured a little parcel at first. Now we have three parcels for the TCBA and the Central End. And then I got in touch with the hero protagonist, that's his name, on the Discord. If you want to hook up with him, that offer is still on the table for everyone to know. The international anarchists are giving operator rights for people to build for free on the Central End. I think this is a big deal, and some people should take advantage of this situation because, as we all know, the central end plots are really expensive now, and the central end is an interesting metaverse with its own specifications. So, what back in 2019, I I decided that I wanted to share the work of some artists I knew, not just not just only the artists that I had in my collection because it was a rather small personal collection, but all the other artists I was getting in touch with or admiring their works on the blockchain and stuff like that. So it became clear to me that I was going to build something where I could display. and somehow promote the work or give them more visibility. So I started buying a little bit more pieces. I tried to get some pieces from all sorts of artists. I think I've been trying to build a really inclusive collection, and this is a controversial term. So some people have asked me what do I mean with inclusive, and what I mean is I try to get all sorts of artists in the TCVA collection, especially the sound. Wait, maybe I should talk closer to the mic. Is it better like this? I hear someone. Is it better? Can
Yeah,
see?
that's better.
It's better. Okay, I'll try to hold the mic near my mouth then. Um, as I was saying, not just big names in the crypto art scene, um, but also smaller, if lack of a better word, smaller artists or lesser known artists that were also minting on lesser known platforms or less famous platforms for crypto art, like Codex or their own self contracts on OpenSea stores and stuff like that. And this idea of inclusivity, it goes to, or it also spreads to the idea of bringing non-blockchain people to the blockchain, if not as creators, or at least as visitors. One of my main intentions with the TCBA is to make some sort of bridge between the physical art world or the traditional art world with this digital aspect of the blockchain and virtual reality in particular. So the TCBA became more relevant in the past months, I guess, because of the COVID pandemic, because now people are more looking into the virtual reality solutions, and even some major institutions have turned part of their content to virtual reality. But most of all, I couldn't foresee that, of course, nor I was thinking that something tragic would force people to stay at home and view the world through computers. But it has been pretty clear for me for some years now that virtual reality is no longer the future. Virtual reality is a part of a very recent past already. And for artists, and this is where I come from, for us artists, this is very empowering because otherwise I wouldn't be able to afford and maintain a physical space where I could display artists with no commercial interest, because the collection, the TCBA collection, is not a collection that exists for speculation or to be sold at a later opportunity or a better value. It's something that exists static. Hopefully, it will remain forever in the blockchain and available, and with the same owner, which is me, of course. But I took some steps to distance myself from that account. And on that note, I would like to, and this is not a paid advertisement, I must add, but I must commend Trezor for donating a hardware wallet for the TCV. I got in touch with them some months ago, like a year or so, and they were very happy to donate a hardware wallet so I could keep the collection safe. And this is what I've been doing. I sometimes buy some pieces and I put them in that hardware wallet. Some artists, and I would like to thank two of them in particular, which are Mattia Cutini, of course, is a superstar on our community, and Ilan Katin, because they have donated several pieces, not only from their personal work, but also from other artists they felt that should be included in the collection that I still hadn't got to, buy their pieces or something. So thank you so much, Ilan and Mattia, for those donations, but also thank you so much for all the other artists that have donated some pieces to the TCBA. And thank you so much also to one collector who has donated a piece to the TCBA collection. And that got me really pumped at the point, because at some point it was me, you know, somehow applying my own personal taste and choosing the pieces I like to add to the collection. But at some point, and the address is public, some artists started proactively sending pieces to the vault, and this felt wonderful, and it still does, because it means that the community got engaged with this project, and they saw some value to it. And I would like to also take the opportunity and say sorry to so many artists that sometimes I give low bids while trying to get some pieces for the TCBA. But the fact is, I don't have much funds. I tried some ways to fund the TCBA by doing specific crypto art pieces that I would sell, and the profits would go to the TCBA so I can buy more pieces. But that didn't work out that well. So now, once in a while, I use some of my own personal gains to add more pieces to the collection. But now I also have these occasional donations from some artists. So, and if you're watching this, and I will make this info available later. If you're watching this and you're an artist and you feel you would like to donate a piece for the TCBA, I'm not asking you for you to do that. I will hopefully get you at some point. I will hopefully buy one of yours at some point. Thank you, Peter. I will write the address later. I don't have it right here. I don't have it here right now, but I will share this on Twitter or something like that, so to make sure that you all get this information. But as I was saying, I'm not asking you artists in general to give me pieces for the TCBA, because ideally I will buy them. I will get to you, I promise. I hopefully will get very, very rich, and I will get pieces from all of you, in a non-discriminatory way, because I don't like to say my collection, but the TCBA collection um, is really about that. It's more. No, not yet, Peter. I don't have any NS the name for it. It's true, because it's a four-letter, and they were not available at the moment. And to have a like thorough center for the blockchain arts .it would be very, very long. But I've considered it, but I abandoned that idea. Yeah. So as I was saying, I don't like to see the TCBA collection as my collection, but as a collection that covers, I wouldn't say the majority, but I hope to cover the majority of what is being done that is labeled crypto art, whatever that means. Because crypto art is also a very controversial term. I do have some ETH or Bitcoin themed pieces, but the fact is the TCBA doesn't invest, sort of speaking, in that sort of manifestations. Although it's not out of lack of respect or interest for the members in our community that are working with those themes, it's falling back to it's my own personal taste. So since I have limited funds, I try to get the ones that really talk to me first. But sometimes, or usually most of the times, I also try to get pieces that I think they are relevant because they represent a moment in history of our small community and blockchain art and whatnot. Whether it's the trash art gifts that some people make in 5 minutes, whether it's major pieces like renowned artists like Akata or Xcopy or stuff like that. I don't really judge on that, but there are some limitations to what I can do, so I tend to go with my personal tastes, of course. But then again, as you said, as Peter Bock said, I will get rich very quick, and when I do, I will get, hopefully, from everyone. Hopefully, when I don't get rich too late, because I guess that in 1 year or two there will be thousands of crypto artists, new crypto artists, or at least hopefully. And I'm doing my bit to bring some more to the blockchain. I've been in touch with physical world artists and trying to lure them into this community. Most of all because of the community, because I do find this community very, very rich, very dynamic, and really positive in general. but also because I see a really bright future for digital artists on the blockchain, whether it's on the Ethereum blockchain or a new blockchain that may arise. But at the moment, Ethereum blockchain is no doubt the best solution for digital artists to monetize their work, because ultimately this is what's it all about. I want to increase visibility on some artists because I want them to succeed professionally. I want them to sell their work, and I might be, a little bit naive, but I do believe if I keep on doing these shows on crypto voxels and sharing the links and bringing people from the outside to see this art in this context, that hopefully we all get new collectors and new lovers that they weren't aware that this is happening right now. This has been happening for some years, and this past year was, I think, was really good for virtual reality galleries or museums and stuff like that. I saw there was a huge interest in crypto voxels this past year, and we know there are lots of artists and lots of individuals that are displaying their collections now, and I am a strong believer of this format, not necessarily crypto voxels or Decentraland or whatever specific platform, but this virtual reality format is very relevant, and I think it's one of the most interesting ways we have so far of appreciating digital art, because it's not as fun to look on an image or to look to an image on a cell phone or a tablet. I think it's more luring people. Yeah, Lenara, you're doing your bit too. Thank you, Lenara, for luring some more people into our community as well. But yeah, so this has been the main goal of the TCBA as an institution, sort of speaking. Let me just have a little bit of tea, and it's tea. It's really tea. I'm not hiding anything. It's mint tea, everyone. But the main purpose it's been this, to make a bridge between artists and artists from different realms, but also, of course, to give these artists that I know extra visibility, and hope to promote their work with, expecting nothing in return, really. Thank you, thank you. That actually, the mug, it's by a Portuguese artist. A very famous Portuguese artist. She's called Paula Rego. She's very famous for her paintings. Um, the I lost my line of thought. I was talking about bringing more visibility to the artists that are part of our community, because even,
In that interest,
sorry,
Rodolfo, do you mind if I've shared my screen? I want to jump into
sure,
the
please do,
gallery.
sure, please do. I'll light a
But
cigarette.
hopefully, members of the audience have some questions you can answer while I tour
Hmm. I would
TCBA.
love to hear. Yeah, everyone watching, if you haven't done so already, because I know some of you did, please drop by the TCBA building at Crypto Voxels. It's at parcel 855. There's also a smaller building next to it on the right, which is called the TCBA Embassy, which is now showing some of my work. I made a retrospective work of all the still lifes I've been doing on the blockchain. But usually, and this was my main intention when I got these two parcels, that the TCBA Embassy is a place where I wanted to showcase the work by individual artists. So the main building will show a selection. Oh, also visit my back door neighbor. Yeah, this building is
Oh,
by
wrong
another
one.
artist. It's okay. It's a great build, and I love his work. It's also in my collection. It's Rabban Hyder. He sells mostly on OpenSea, on self contract. I think he wasn't accepted by any platform yet, but I do really love his work, and I'm very happy that he's my neighbor. So props for Robin Hyder too. And yeah, this is the current show. I try to rotate the shows every 3 months or so, because um, luckily there's over 120 pieces now And lately I've been trying to focus on the animated pieces to display on CryptoVoxels while trying to display the statical images on Decentraland because they don't support GIFs or videos yet. So for now, the build on Decentraland isn't, it's pretty much complete, but it's kind of empty. I still haven't had the time to install the collection properly, but there are also a few pieces there. Um, the first vault. I don't know what you're talking about right now, Martin. Hopefully, you can develop the what you mean by the first vault. Anyway, the parcel on the central end, it's located at 3354. So do drop by as well and let me know what you thought of it. There's a small building there, and there's sort of Stone Age construction also. That's an installation I did with one of my pieces, which actually, yeah, it's owned by Martin Lucas now. It was an NFT that had a 3D model embedded. It was an image that was I'm not sure if I can say stagnography. I don't know the exact term. Well, either way, I used steganography to encode the 3D model on the image, and Martin bought that NFT, and he owns the image and the sculpture as well, which he displays on his collection on CryptoVoxels. At least it was on display until recently, and I display another version of the same model on that prehistorical build on near the TCBA building on the central end as well. So drop by and let me know what you thought of it if you happen to be in the neighborhood. Yeah, this is the embassy building. It's now showing. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was getting there. Um, I also got a physical page, which now isn't updated with the latest acquisitions. But I also keep a physical page, a web page that it's on the chat now, where people can see the full collection. All the images are gathered there with no specific order. There's not even a chronological order. It's just a sequence of images. I don't want to give any particular highlight to any artist. I think we're pretty all great, and we're pretty much the same. We're all artists, and so I don't want to give a particular attention to any of those, except for the ones which are really my friends, like Mattia and Milan, and Xcopy too. Of course, I have a closer relationship to them, but even so, in the collection, I try not to give more attention to them than to any other artist that is part of it. So yeah, this is the first floor. You can see some pieces by Elan. There's a piece by Max Osiris as well. Cryptochromo, which I totally love and admire, and only recently had the firepower to buy. Donated 3 pieces for the collection, and this humbled me a lot because this is one of the artists that I really impressed when I joined the blockchain. I've been wanting to buy stuff by him since ever, and we did a couple of collaborations already. We did some cool pieces together, and at some point he told me he wanted to donate some pieces to the TCBA, and this is for me personally, it was really a happy moment and a high point in the TCBA career or something like that, because I really love his work. But then again, it has been quite quite some artists already. I can't really remember all of them, so I won't mention the names of the artists who donated the pieces, and I apologize for that. But you know who you are, and I'm totally and utterly grateful for all you have done and given to the TCBA. But the truth is, I don't really remember because there were a few already. I would have to check the list to see the donations. But the donations I think are up to 15% of the total collection. right now. So it's significant, and thank you for the community for supporting this. Oh, crypto art vault dedicated to preserve the art. We should build one, but we should build one that would work off chain, so we could make sure that we preserve the crypto art forever, uh, even if the internet were got to be shut down or something like that. So yeah. So I'm not sure if anyone has any questions. I think I pretty much covered all the aspects around the TCBA. There were some philosophical considerations when I was designing the space in itself. I wanted to make an open space, but also to preserve some of conventional structures so I could display the art on walls and stuff like that. So the TCBA building on CryptoVoxels has been redesigned a few times. Uh, this happens sometimes when I'm arranging for a new show and I think I need this wall to display this piece, or I take this wall down to. And this is the beautiful thing about having a show in virtual reality, which you can change anything you want at need, which is something you can't really do with physical spaces. You can't change them that much. Uh, and virtual reality brings us this power, not just the power to build your own personal art foundation, but also the power to change it at will, to redesign it, to tear it down and build something completely incredible, where gravity doesn't apply, where you can build stairs but you don't really need them, and stuff like that. And this is, for me as an artist, also very interesting, and I think it has huge potential, or liberating potential, in the way that people design institutions for art, or ways to display art or enjoy art and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really pumped and excited with all of what's been happening in the past couple of years in the space, because now this has made my job a lot easier, because I'm a little bit versed in code, and I've been working with virtual reality and augmented reality and stuff like that. But to build such a framework would be very time intensive for me. So, and these platforms, not just CryptoVoxels and Decentraland, and the TCBA will also be on Somnium. And for that, I would like to thank Sparrow, because she donated a nice parcel for the TCBA collection to be built there as well. I still haven't got the time or the technical resources, actually, because my laptop is Linux, and their client only runs on Windows. So at the moment, so I haven't had the opportunity to build that. But I also got a parcel on Sandbox, which I find it might be an interesting platform, and they have their own specific challenges in the way they allow for people to build, but they also allow for another sort of interactivity that might be really interesting to explore. But I still also haven't got the time to get around it. But soon, the TCBA will be on more metaverses, and hopefully someday the TCBA will be in all the metaverses available if I can manage to work on all of them. So let's see what the next year will bring us, because this 2020 has started in a really crooked way, and has slowed down a little bit things for everyone. Good morning, good morning for those watching the early birds. Thank you so much for those. That's a particularly hard time to watch at 7 a.m. It's going at 7 a.m. in the United States or something like that. So good morning to you all, and thank you for joining.
Thank you for joining.
Well,
Hopefully, I
it's my pleasure.
covered the full gamut of pieces in my brief tour. But everyone should check it out and donate pieces. I believe you're
Well, don't say it.
okay.
Everyone should check it out for sure. Don't feel obligated by any means to donate pieces. Although, and this is important to stress, if you do, those pieces will never be resold, which is great, but can also be bad for you, because then you will never get the the royalties from secondary sales. So do consider if you really want to donate pieces for the TCBA, because they will be stuck forever there. They will be stuck forever inside a hardware wallet and displayed on a really simple HTML page and a cool gallery on CryptoVoxes. So do consider that. Of course, all your pieces are welcome if you send them, or I will display them on the web page, and I'll for sure get the time to display them on the CryptoVoxes and the central end as well. There's no censorship. I'll try to, and I'm always trying not to, hinder people from expressing themselves the way they see fit. Thank you, Luna. Thank you for your continuous support, by the way.
Well, I appreciate your consideration of artists' needs and your inclusivity. That's why,
Well,
or
I'm
one
an
of the reasons
artist,
I love the
so
CBA.
this is what I am first and foremost. And the TCBA, although I refer to it as an institution, it's it's an arts project. It's a personal arts project, and of course, I do consider artists' needs above everything else, because their needs are also my needs. It's something I can relate to personally. I've been living off my art, or my artistic production, for the past 5 years. So this is a serious topic to me. Of course, I understand the difficulties, and I understand for sure the frustration that many artists feel when they see huge sales happening on platforms and they don't seem to be able to make it. And for those artists, I can just recommend that you just keep on doing your thing, and you just keep on working and practice. I gave this advice a while ago, and it's a really truthful advice. You have to practice. You have to practice to perfect what you know, but you also have to practice stuff that you don't know, so you can get to know them and expand your work and your vocabulary and your ways of doing. So if you're not making it, sort of speaking, right now, that doesn't mean that you will not make it in the future. Because when I recently I made some really nice sales, but when I started 2 years ago, I was selling pieces for 10 euros. So there's a path. It's a strenuous one, but you have to keep the faith and keep the confidence in your own work, and what you're doing is the best for you, and just keep on doing, because that's what artists do. Unfortunately, most of us don't make it, and history tells us this. But this should not be a deterrent for artists, because of course we all need the money, we all have food to buy and rent to pay, but money should not be the main objective for doing art. That shouldn't Money is not the why we do it. So don't get dismayed when you don't have the commercial success, because I'm almost certain that if you're doing stuff that is well done and important and relevant and heartfelt and honest, someone will notice it, and hopefully it will give you money for it, or other sort of support. So just hang in there and keep doing what you do, because we're artists. That's what we really know how to do. This is what we do. So money is great, but don't take it too seriously. It's not about the money. It's about the beauty. It's about making people feel or imagine, and this is a grand power we have. Um, Money is also a great power, but I think the power that artists hold is something that's really beyond money. So try to keep that in mind in your darkest hour. Try to remember we're going for something that it's bigger than us. That's just it. Something that's bigger than us. So that this is what I had to say about the TCBA.
Thank you so
I
much.
rambled a bit on the end.
No, that
Thank
was
you.
wonderful. I really
Thank you for
appreciate those
putting up
words.
this event, James. You
It's my
are
pleasure.
you are a true pillar of this community as well. Um,
Thank you
I
for
hope
saying
that
that.
yeah.
I will be a
Hey, go
pillar
ahead,
if
man.
ever I stumble.
I hope we continue to have this festival for many years to come, and
I'll do
that
my
we see
best. And
the community growing each year.
Yes, I completely agree. We should focus on strengthening, growing the community, and providing opportunities to as many artists as possible. Uh,
and non-artists as well, as long as they
sure.
express themselves
Well, I
creatively.
personally believe everyone is an artist, and
Hmm.
that's the part I care about most. But
Yeah,
I
of course
agree. It's a
there are there are some
multifaceted thing.
particularities, but you can, yeah, it's at everyone's reach to express themselves artistically or something like that. So, if you have something to say and you feel the need like to say it in arts, do it. You don't need training. You do need to train and practice to get better, but you don't need training to start doing it. That's the that's the thing.
Well, thank you again. Really
Yeah, it
appreciate you
was great.
being here, and look forward to
And
seeing
thanks
you.
everyone who joined. Thanks everyone who joined.
All right.
See ya.
You take care, and we'll move on to the next
You too, man.
presentation.
Cool.
Thanks.
Let's move on.
All right, we're live here with Peter Bach, and he's going to share
Hello,
more
everyone.
about his artwork and experience, and he's got a brief presentation and hopefully some questions from the audience, and we'll have some fun. Take it away.
Well, I probably can't beat any of the other presentations in terms of content. I'm just going to talk a bit about, well, the method I use and how I got into crypto art. So to start that off, well, I have no real idea how I got into art. I mean, my sister is the one in the family who has an art diploma and everything, and who makes sculptures and ceramics. And I was just a computer nerd that kind of went on computer. I once had a dream of being a hacker. Then I realized, hey, I have an actual moral set of moral values. That went down the drain. But in any case, how I got into the whole crypto art domain was mainly through Steemit, which we have now forked and called Hive because of the whole drama. I'm guessing you can just look up Steemit Hive to see which side you fall on that debate. But in any case, it was a cryptocurrency blocking platform. So you were rewarded depending on what you earned. technically, now that I think about it, I could nearly have been one of the first, except my computer hardware was very trashy back in 2012, so I couldn't even get the Bitcoin node to run, and I forgot everything about the space for several years. And then when I finally got back into it with Steemit back, must have been 3 years ago. Well, then the whole starter super rich people thing had kind of already passed. But I got in then just making some blog posts, and someone mentioned the possibility to win some of the currency, some of the Steam currency, through making these small artworks or stuff like that. So I got on the computer, I started up a system called, well, a website called Deep Dream Generator, and I just kind of, wait, probably got to share my screen to show this. There we go. Oh dear, probably gonna deactivate the video and go over to something that is not this screen. Everyone can see all right?
Yep, I can see it.
In any case, yeah. So I started up Deep Dream Generator, which I'd heard about, and I'd written a tiny article about its capabilities, and I kind of got creating, and then tried to win 1 or 2 Steemit blog post competitions. So I'm going to show you my very, very first experiments. As you can see, I've got 167 pages of stuff on this. I was very obsessed with it at the beginning. As you can see, let's just say the first things weren't exactly very artistic. So I kind of just played around with the tool a lot and tried to win competitions for like an old game called CryptoPets, where, well, it's defunct now as far as I know, but you had these kind of pets and you wanted a competition to win some. I think I won 1 or 2 of them. And basically it was just manipulating the stuff. And here's a couple of the artworks I really started to try and manipulate stuff with, which more or less leads me into my presentation here. Process to abstraction. I don't know why I chose that name exactly, but just appealed to me. So the presentation I want to make, because if I don't have something to go by, I kind of get derailed. I think I'm already a bit derailed. So basically, when I got into the space, I started creating lots of different things. So most of it was really just in Deep Dream Generator, where I take Creative Commons image such and get started. And the very first artworks I created was based on a platform called Crystalcraft, was put in place by a blockchain development company called Everdreamsoft, and it was on the counterparty protocol. So I should actually have opened this in advance. But I created a couple of pieces inside this system. So basically, they had a very, very, what could you call it, artistic wallet for it. Let's see, it's kind of doesn't quite exist anymore, but I should be able to at least show you my stuff. Ah, well, server issues. So in any case, I began creating some artworks for them. They were kind of like cards with a little title and a drawing, and then it would have this. This is my very first for sale crypto artwork, which they seemed to like a lot. Of course, it was using a currency that didn't quite exist. Well, didn't quite exist. Didn't quite. There wasn't quite an easy way to get the currency out at the time. So, well, just kind of continued creating a few artworks from time to time for that, and combining all the different layouts and stuff. Well, that I came up with, just combining them using GIMP and software like that. And after some time, I ended up just drifting to super rare. So I've got a lot of works tokenized on super rare. Kind of switched entirely over to tokenizing artworks on Ethereum. So the main process, sorry, I got a bit derailed there, but the main process I usually have for these kind of works is I start with what I call raw materials. So I'll use websites like WeaveSilk, which kind of just open source AI models to manipulate images or create images just using words as seed phrases. There's lots of interesting stuff in that. So when usually my process is relatively that I go from a raw material of some kind, and well, I usually use a tool like Artbreeder. That's very much fun to use too. So I've got a lot of works nowadays are based off Artbreeder rather than Deep Dream Generator. So I choose an artwork in here, and I just kind of, well, not artwork, a generated image in here, and I just kind of look at what happens if I follow the different pathways, and I just go to the point where I think, okay, this looks interesting, and then I begin the final phase, which is just a lot of work in terms of image manipulation. So I really like working with symmetry, so a kaleidoscope symmetry with several different angles, and filters using different inputs. So this one here on the right, that is exclusively generated from a white background. So just a white piece of digital paper, so to say. And then I just went into it, looked at what happens if I apply the different filters and different parameters. And then once I've done the job of finding a pattern, so manipulating a lot and combining different things. So here the one on the right is also this one above. I can see it's slightly evolved in terms of color composition and content. And I just kind of go with the flow, just working on whatever seems like it furthers the pattern that I see. Ah, nice. Oh, that's right, yeah, Op Explorer. I should have remembered that one. I kind of helped beta test it. So yeah, maybe I can also show you the Crystal Craft collection. Here we go. It's where I met one of the other artists that I followed a lot, which is Joey Gepetta. He's inspired me very much to continue a bit of problem with loading the images too in this one. And then a little bit
Seems like we lost connection. Okay, see if we can rejoin.
Can you hear me again?
Yeah, we've got you back now.
Okay. Looks like I lost you at some point. So when did I when did I lose you?
I think it was trying to load that collection. Made you.
Oh yeah, the Orb Explorer. Ah, it managed to load it now.
Okay. Well, I
So
can't.
here we can see.
No, I think you have to
Oh
share.
yeah. Sorry, I had to share the screen again. There we go.
Nice. We can see it.
Yeah. So this is the block Crystal Craft collection, which is the first collection I ever published artwork in. And this piece is actually the one that inspired me to try and make an artwork myself. Just love how it looked. And if I remember well, I'd somehow got my hand on some big crystals. I don't think I bought them. I think I won them in some kind of mini competition or something. And I used them to buy a copy of this one. And then I was kind of like, this looks good. Maybe I can join too. So I started out with my very first work. So this is basically just a weave silk artwork like I showed you before, a bit more focused on symmetry. So in terms of option, it would be more like this. And then I just kind of applied the Deep Dream Generator's artwork functionality and then chose one of the default parameters. And flash effect of small ceramic tiles. That's what it reminds me of anyway. And then I just placed blockchain icons from a collection that I found on the internet. So Creative Commons published collections that I usually cite whenever I use it in my artworks. And then I just kind of pass it all through the Dream Generator and passed that on to Everdream Soft and said, hey, can I be an artist? And he said yes. So that was what gave me the first real taste of it. And I remember I talked a bit with Joe Schiapetta. So he's created, I think, nearly pretty much all of the artworks after that Crystal Craft collection. And he's really got a nice style to it. But yeah, I got started with that one, and then I kind of made it into I tried to create a kind of a story with my second artwork. It's kind of like this Buddha figure with cryptocurrency coins, and you had to you had to present your selection of coins to the Buddha so he let you pass. And then the passage would lead to this mountain. And that's about when I left the counterparty assets, the Bitcoin counterparty protocol domain, and then making artworks for Ethereum using super rare and known origins. Now that I think about it, I created a couple of artworks more for the series. So it's technically my longest running series because I kind of decided to resurrect it specifically for that. Can you still see me?
Yep.
There we go. I thought it had. So I kind of continued this collection. So this very first artwork series, I'm working on more of the lore part of it, because the meaning was that you went to that Buddha of coin figure, the supreme hodlers. I have no idea how I came up with the idea, but I'm running with it. And
I think we lost him again. I'm gonna invite him to rejoin. Hey again.
so,
Sorry.
I exist again.
Yeah. Maybe don't try loading the artworks.
Yeah, I think I'll leave the
Unfortunately,
artworks alone.
because of the connection problems, we're running short on time. So
Yeah.
apologies for having to rush it a little bit, but want to give you the
Oh,
chance to
I was
finish strong.
pretty much at the end anyway.
Well, if you want to share like maybe the last slides and then wrap it up, that would be great.
Well, this is pretty much the last slide, just showing
If
how
you
the process looks for for a couple of artworks.
okay, I don't know if you already showed it, but your screen is not visible right now.
Yeah, I did already show it.
Okay. What's up
Try
to
to
you?
show it again. But yeah, general process with how I manipulate the symmetry and the appearance, and then add a little touch of animation if I can figure out a good way to look.
Cool.
But yeah,
I think we
that should basically be
before
it.
you showed it. But it's
Yeah.
cool to see the progression of your experience throughout.
Yeah.
You know, just creating for fun contests and now getting even more serious and creative and exploring new paths.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
really glad to have
Recently,
you part of this festival, and we appreciate your continued efforts and uh, support of the community.
thank you. I will see if I can extend it into virtual reality art too, as I've made the decision recently to acquire an Oculus Quest to try and see how all those tools work.
That should be fun.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions.
We had a question. If you don't mind sharing, what motivated you to move on to using ETH platforms instead of XCP? Was it more than just liquidity issues?
Um, well, the general motivation, I think, was probably that there were lots of projects being built on Ethereum, and publishing on Ethereum allowed me to build up cryptocurrency that I could actually use directly to earn stuff and buy collectibles and test out all these new projects. Because I've never actually invested my own money, so to say, into cryptocurrencies. I've mostly just found ways to more or less earn enough using either artworks or the crypto plugin websites to experiment with the whole domain. So I think that was my primary motivator.
Cool. Thanks for sharing, and once again, thanks for being part of this. And look forward to seeing you in the metaverse relatively soon. Whenever you're starting your VR artworks, and
Oh yeah.
we'll keep following your general contributions to the space.
Mm.
Thanks, thanks again. All right.
Okay.
Well, we'll keep moving. And
Yeah. Bye everyone.
take care.
Thank you for listening to my ramblings.
Thank you for sharing. Hey everybody, we're live again here with Alex from Rarible, and we're gonna keep it informal. Hopefully, you've got some questions for him, and he's gonna share what's on his mind. Take it away.
Okay, thanks for having me today. Yeah, so my name is Alex Salnikov, and I'm co-founder and head of product at Rarible. And today I'd like to talk mostly about like where this market is going to, just in general, what's going on. And at first, let me tell you about Rarible real quick. So I'm in crypto since 2011, and I basically have not done anything else except for crypto in my life. So you kind of can you can understand how much I love this market. I love the ideas that it brings, the sense of freedom and that kind of stuff. So we created Rarible. Basically, we started last summer. We Before Rarible, me and my partners were doing ERC20 issuance platform for the ICO craze. So basically, as I see it, uh, when Ethereum started, it opened a lot of possibilities for everyone to create something on blockchain, and that basically ran a first wave of tokenizations that everyone was doing their ERC20s. They were tokenizing some things that they wanted to be built on blockchain. And I see NFT movement as a as a second wave of tokenization, just because what is NFT? NFT is a representation of rights to something on blockchain. And for me, the difference between ERC20 and NFT is basically the difference between countable and uncountable things. So that's why I expect this wave to be at least of the same size as ERC20 movement. Uh, that's why we created Rarible. We wanted this to be an open-ended platform, so like everyone can hop in and to tokenize whatever they want to tokenize. And we went live on November, so it's like 5 months ago. Uh, and we've seen a lot of activities from digital artists. We weren't expecting like exactly them to be on our platform, but we love the community. The community is so great, it's so engaged. Artists are always on the frontier of the development in this world, and they instantly hopped in and started creating their works. So since then, we brought for to our artists like $40,000 of income, I would say. That's our volume so far. And what how I see this market. So okay, I see several stages of development of the market. First, there is like initial market, like primary market, when then an artist creates an artwork and sells it. That basically is the birth of a work. It's the birth of an NFT and the first sale. And I think the market is right now in this stage mostly. Then there is a secondary stage of there is a second stage, it's a secondary market when someone purchased the work and then resold it for the bigger price. That's I think the most valuable part here, because basically what's the blockchain value proposition in all of that? Why NFT brought and gave birth to this market? Just because there are numerous amounts of websites in the centralized world when you can go and sell your artwork, but that doesn't work. Why? Because you have nothing to do with this artwork afterwards. When we add blockchain and NFT here, we receive an instant and built-in secondary market. So what happens then when somebody sold an artwork for more than he bought it, and he earned money? Oh, that's an investment. So if we have an investment market, then I see the second stage, the third stage after that. So we can bring capital here, because we have something that is appreciating in value, and there are a lot of capital out there that is constantly looking for things that are appreciating in value. We are going to allow them to just go in and and invest their capital in this market. And that's why we are going to build an index for all of the artworks, for all of the NFTs, for the free capital to be able to just hop in and get on board. One of the things that we are actively invested to, I mean, not in terms of money, but in terms of our time, it's the nice UX. Let me show you. I don't know how familiar are you with our platform, but let me show you how it works. Can you see can you see my screen?
Yep. I can see
Okay,
it.
yeah, I'm screen sharing. Sure, it's here. So that's a Rarible platform. I'm sure you're pretty like good in this landscape, and you know how the marketplaces work. So that's how we work. Basically, what we wanted to create is the most basic, most simple version of the way to create an NFT and instantly sell it. That's why we have like only one page for that. You can create a collectible just by uploading the picture. By the way, we store it in IPFS, so it's there forever. You can choose a collection or create your own one. You can see that I have a bunch of them. Name, description, properties, and just one button to put it on sale with the price. One of the cool feature that I wanted to share, it's underexplored so far, is unlockable feature. You can make your NFTs unlockable. So basically, you can add an arbitrary content that will be revealed to the one who will purchase this NFT. That creates a lot of use cases. For example, like the first basic use case for that is that you can attach a high resolution copy of your artwork here. So basically just upload it to Dropbox, and we are polishing the support of ERC 100, ERC 1155. So you will be able to create a multiple series of collectibles, and that's great for selling multiple things like event tickets, a numerous amount of your like files of your 3D models, logotypes, like whatever you want to sell. So again, this whole idea, the whole idea of Rarible was to allow our users to experiment on what can be brought to NFT market, what else can be done, what else can be achieved with this standard of NFTs. And with addition of ERC 1155, we are gonna see much more use cases. My favorites are Patreon-like support. So you can just go to Rarible, you can create your own NFT with an image, with a logotype of you, and you can make them like 100 copies of that and sell it by like $5 or $10 each. And basically that would work as a Patreon support, but whoever will buy it will receive a token of appreciation for their support. That's one of those that I want to see a lot. Another use case that really gets me is that you can sell a future promotion. So let's say you want to start an NFT blog, and you need some money to promote it at first. So you can create an NFT that will have that will represent a right for a future promotion post in that blog. So somebody can just hop in, buy this NFT, and will receive a future right on promotion post in your blog. by that giving you basically money to promote your blog at first. This NFT will appreciate in price since you will have more and more subscribers in your blog, and it can be resold on the secondary market and then at some point redeemed to a promotional post. That's the use cases that we want to see, that we will support whoever will create it. So that's it. I don't know, like if there is a lot of people who have never minted anything. If you didn't mint it, if you didn't mint any NFT so far, I encourage you to hop in on Rarible and create your own. We don't have initial moderation. You can just create whatever you want. We have a support of Fortmatic, Wallet Connect, and MetaMask. You can, so if you don't have a wallet yet, it's easy to create one with Fortmatic. It will be tied to your email or your phone number. And then there is a user menu up there, and you can manage your funds on Zerion. It's our so Zerion, we use Zerion as basically a fund management platform where you can exchange your tokens, where you can purchase ETH with a credit card or debit card. They have partners of Wire, MoonPay, and you can do that. So basically, right there is all of the buttons you need to create your own first NFT. Moreover, you can create your own link. It will work like that. So basically, that was one of my favorite features introduced. You can create your own like marketplace, so that you can share it with your subscribers, with your audience, and like skipping all of this artwork, skipping all of this mess on the main page. Yep. So, do you have any questions? I think I'm more or less done with the demo of the platform. Just I'm here to speculate on what is the future of this market. Like, feel free to ask me questions. I will be glad to answer them. Hmm. I'm just reading the chat if someone should had some questions.
Yeah, if people are thinking of questions,
That's one the feature.
Yeah, they're talking about the 11th.
Somebody is writing about.
Sorry.
Sure?
I have a question if people are still thinking of stuff to ask.
Okay.
It's about the moderation aspect. Have you encountered any challenges because of that? And do you have sort of like retroactive moderation that you're doing, or is it anything goes?
Okay. Of course, there is the other side of a medal of having an open-ended platform accessible for everyone. Of course, there are people who just go copy someone's work and then try to sell it. We have a pretty active community of artists and people on board. So basically, we have a retroactive moderation. We can't delete the particular NFT from Ethereum blockchain. It's forever there. But what we're doing is we're basically hiding it from our platform. That's the same approach from the Super Rare or OpenSea. Oh no, Super Rare has a pre-moderation. Yeah, that's the same approach that OpenSea is having. And I think that's more flexible approach because pre-moderation basically really narrows the list of who can count on board in the and the like the time that you need to create your first NFT. But basically in the future, what we wanted to achieve is we want to achieve a community-based moderation. And we want our community to be able to moderate some works on chain. So there will be a flag on chain that you can mark some NFTs as fraudulent or like violating copyright issues, and then the community can decide to take that NFT off everywhere. And that's the ultimate goal that we want to achieve.
Makes sense. I like what you're doing to democratize access to this kind of technology, and you're building a community focused on artwork. It seems like you're not like OpenSea, which is for all kinds of NFTs, and you've got lots of features to build profiles and you know, create connections between artists, which is awesome. Does
What
anyone
do you
else?
think about the overall? What do you think about overall market activity in terms of price appreciation? So this part of like that goes after the secondary market established that I talked about. So if there would be an index that would allow you to invest in the general proliferation and price appreciation of the art market, would you invest in that?
You know, I've been thinking about that a lot. My feeling is the secondary market is really important. However, it's not really my favorite part of the traditional art world. And so I don't want to recreate problems, or I don't want us to recreate problems experienced by artists now, where there's, you know, certain groups that control the power of the fine art world or the crypto art world, you know. So that's why I like what you're doing to keep it open, and you know, it's really about supporting artists with purchases, and of course royalties are important, and that's a great way to monetize the secondary sales. um, but I don't know if I see that being enforced anywhere in an effective way, and so there's lots of problems with that approach, and licensing might be another option, or you know, just thinking about how to optimize your creative output for the, you know, the results you're trying to achieve as a creator. But yeah, I don't know if I would invest in that. I think I would, because art is it's like, you know, it's always going to increase in value. But yeah, it's hard to say if I'd invest in the index of all art in the market. But like all markets, it feels like that would
Yeah.
it would grow. Um, but you know, the aspect of time is very interesting. It's like whatever over what time scale would it appreciate, and how long am I going to be here to experience the benefits of that appreciation? So that's another part of it, I guess. But it's a good question. We have
Yeah,
one.
I got your point. Yeah.
We have another one asking if you could address the problem of the fake artists and how Rarible is thinking about preventing this. I guess it's not just moderation
Yeah,
of
should.
copies, but like impersonation.
Yeah. Right now, we are also developing a feature that would allow to somehow address this issue. So I'm talking about verified Twitter accounts and verified wearable badge. That would increase the probability of the artwork to be genuine if it was verified with the Twitter account of the owner and verified by us for all of the famous artists. But again, I do want to see a community-based moderation somewhere in the future where we are not being a single source of truth here, and where we'll be able to rely on the community to moderate itself. That's the ultimate goal, as I said again. Um, I also been thinking about creating some algorithms that would be scrapping all of the websites for the artworks and automatically like search for the copies. That's also the thing, the thing I'm thinking about, and it's somewhere down the road. I'm not sure how to implement it so far. But if you think that that's a great idea, and yeah, just poke me in the chat or somewhere else, and we can discuss that.
Yeah, the governance problem.
Oh, I
If
can I can I can see Jake here.
yeah, the
uh,
question of governance. We had a great talk from Jason Bailey earlier during the festival, and he mentioned that the 2019 problem is getting collectors in the space. The 2020 problem is the secondary market, and I think either the second 2020 problem, or the 2021 problem will be governance of these platforms for sure. And it's a complex thing. And I just wanted to say, not all markets will grow and thrive, and we do have a sustainable market in the art world because art is everywhere, and it's a blurred line, like what is art in the market, um, and we're carving out this new section of the market, and that feels very small, and that, I guess, is what you're asking about, is like, would I invest in the index of all crypto art? And uh, I've seen a lot of big sales on the secondary market, but not if you, it seems like a lot, but it's hard to know like what's really uh, driven by actual market demand, and what's driven by just trying to support the ecosystem, and proving the concept in this early stage, because you don't know who the collectors are.
Yeah,
Sometimes
that's right.
you don't know uh, you don't know how the money is actually being exchanged off chain. Perhaps there's lots of questions I have about it, but um, unless anybody else has questions, I really thank you for being here and sharing your thoughts, and looking forward to seeing Rarible grow and integrate ERC 1155. That's exciting, and there's tons of potential for all different kinds of platforms in this space, and we're all learning together and experimenting with different approaches. So, Rarible is a great example of a new platform to join the Rare AF community. You haven't been involved with the previous two festivals, but we're so happy to have you here, and look forward to collaborating in the future.
I'm thankful for that. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, you take care, and we'll keep it moving. Next up, we got Leo.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
And we're live with Leo Chung from Machi X, and excited about this presentation. He's been doing some great work leading the VR component of the virtual Rare Art Festival. And take it away.
Thank you, James. Thanks everybody for being here. I think this is fantastic. I think I've actually haven't been in the crypto art space very long, but I mean, I think the community here has been fantastic. It's just like everybody's so welcoming, and there's so much to learn from everybody. So I hope I can contribute as well, continually, whether that's through crypto voxels, helping people with land or anything. Just feel free. You guys need to reach out to me. Feel free. I'm so just happy to be part of this community. So with that said, let me kind of move on with this presentation. We want to kind of take you through our journey with Machi X and how we became, how we define ourselves now as a collective of artists and patrons. So our initial thesis started out with asset tokenization. So thinking about how, what is the kind of killer app about blockchain? And the way we look at it is it's asset tokenization. Why? Because it's really cheap to register and own your asset, and then it's really cheap and secure to transfer the value or the asset and or the value itself. And from that, you can create markets where markets don't previously exist. So that I think was one of the most exciting things about blockchain for me. And so we wanted to apply this initially to film, to music, and to visual arts. So art, generally speaking, from an IP standpoint. Obviously, the questions of what does it mean to own some of this stuff, and what do you own for commercial interests, etc. But from the standpoint of whether you're an artist and you create content, or you are a collector and you collect the item itself, I think there's a few different ways of looking at this. So from the music side, I'll start, and we tell people, music is valuable, IP is valuable. From this story, I don't know, many of you may have heard the Michael Jackson story as it relates to the copyrights that the Beatles catalog. The story basically goes that Michael Jackson was working on Say, Say, Say with Paul McCartney, and he said, you know what you should do? You should really own music copyrights because it's worth a lot of money. He's like, yeah, okay, well, I'll buy your catalog. And so from that time in the 80s, he ended up owning the catalog and selling it for a lot of money. So I don't think there's any argument that music copyrights is valuable. At the same time, there's really no way to get to it. And I think that inherently was a problem. So we solved this problem by creating this concept of, hey, how about we buy up the composition rights, and then we kind of reissue ownership via the blockchain. And then with that, owners of the token cannot just feel like, I own the piece of the song that, my significant other and I danced to at our, first time we met or whatever it is. I can now buy a piece of this thing, and now I can also receive royalties. How do we do this? Here's an example via smart contract. If you took like $100 royalties, you want to split it to a smart contract, you can then scalably split it across based on pro rata share. So this is kind of what we did on the music copyright side. I wanted to share that story. And I think that's actually something I've been thinking about as well as it relates to NFT art and how it's possible to share any kind of commercial interest between collector and specifically one-to-one collector, which is easier, and then as well as the artists themselves. So real quick to kind of, that chapter, where we ended up now. With Machi X Music, we've got 59 songs tokenized from Golden Melody Award winners, which are the Mandarin language Grammys, basically. And one of these tokens is in fact trading on the Binance DEX. We continue to work with Binance in terms of how they can address Binance chain changes to address some of these tokenization and royalty disbursement things. But that's on the music side. I don't want to get too deep into it, but it certainly wanted to kind of put that out there. If any of you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. I'll share the contact info later. So what we learned in that experience is that talking to artists and collectors, as well as other platforms like royalty collectors and record labels, everybody sort of says the same thing, which is, wow, this is really cool. How is it possible? And then they hear about the magic of the blockchain and automation. They go, wow, okay, so can we also own a piece? Like, well, it doesn't quite work that way right now. So that's where we started thinking, okay, so let's think about decentralization. What can we get with decentralization? Oh, and just thought I'd sneaking our art in there. So I'll talk about the art that we're listing later. But decentralization, we have, through decentralization, we can get passionate people. We hope to get shared ownership, and we want to reward contributions. So as I go through my search of well, how am I going to do these things, and how do I share ownership, and how do I get passionate people across artists that are passionate as well as collectors that are passionate? Because the thing that we also found was that artists were kind of thinking of this as, okay, here, I've got a bunch of songs. Let me just take it to you, and then, you know, good luck. Go tokenize it. Give me some money. They weren't as engaging, honestly, as we wanted them to be, and we kind of still have other ways we want to drive on that. And then the collectors too. You know, how do I buy these tokens and collect money and make money from it? So really, decentralization through shared ownership, I think, would really drive that. Was anyways our thesis. And just to point out, this is one of our artists on the upper right here, Lush, who is a Australian street artist. On the lower right here is Pirate Sheep from Croatia. So these are pieces that you'll see throughout my presentation here that we're actually bringing to Rare Art Fest. So then we started taking the journey down to the DAOs, and we don't have a lot of time to get into the DAOs itself, but what I wanted to do was kind of go through my views of the DAO. So there are a bunch of articles you can Google on Moloch DAO and the structure there. Aragon DAO is also very popular one these days on the technical side. But in short, what DAO structure allows for is it solves the problem of human coordination. And that basically the concept here is that everybody can kind of jump in and jump out as they like. And some of the examples here include, so in my search for decentralization, I ended up going into looking at the various DAOs, what they're all about. And I joined Metacartel DAO and met Peter and a bunch of other very talented people. And super helpful. So in that journey, it became very clear to me that, hey, you know what, DAOs is the way to go and achieve what we want to achieve. So in this slide, I wanted to also talk about the type of various flavors of the DAOs that exist. So the second one I have here, for-profit DAOs. So this, you also may have read about Metacartel Ventures as well as the DAO itself. And these two are DAO structured, member participated, member driven venture funds that are actually making investments right now for various projects. And then I think about our MachiX DAO is probably closer to what could be defined as community DAO. And I think that MetaFactory is headed that way as well. I think some of you may be familiar with MetaFactory over there with Drew. So the reason I break this out as a third one as community is because it's not entirely the mission of, I think, MetaFactory nor MachiX DAO to per se provide like, hey, we're always gonna not make money or only for community purposes or for profit. We're definitely out here to make money. But I think of this as more like an evolving experiment, in fact, right now, and that we might make money, we might not make money, but it's okay. If you come in here and you enjoy the ride and you join the journey and you're participating, you're learning, and you're growing, to me, I think that's the most important part. So as I finish this slide here, I want to talk about the art as well. On the upper right, this is the Super Cyber Town. And so this is a kind of futuristic entrance into a world in Singapore. Actually, you can see more about this in the MachiX gallery. And then lower right here, this is from Pastelle, who is an artist from Sweden, and there's quite a surprise in there that I think you'll have to go watch it for yourself at the MachiX gallery. See, there's some comments here. Yeah, Croatia. So the last slide here on the lower right. So Pirate Sheep, she is also in our Discord server. I think she's got quite a good amount of talent here. She's made some jumping type Ethereum and jumping Bitcoin, and then she made this Bitcoin toupee and Ethereum toupee. Pretty interesting pieces of art as well on the third floor of our exhibit. And then moving on to now, where are we now? So we have onboarded 7 artists for our inaugural exhibit at Rare Art Fest. So thank you very much, James, again for having us as part of this. We ended up working with Infinity NFT, and we're very, very grateful for the assistance there from Nate and team over there. The ability to basically have this art stored on the permaweb and have file sizes are huge to support some of these MP4s. It's been fantastic. I think the other thing I wanted to talk about too is within these 7 artists, we feel very lucky to be able to bring these folks in to crypto art. Now, I have a lot of respect for the existing crypto art superstars, I suppose, that we might be familiar with, like Josie and Hackatow, and some of these other folks are super talented, and other folks in this call, I'm sure that I may have missed. At the same time, I think it is very healthy and good that we can bring in through the MachiX DAO some of these artists that have, for example, Lush. If you know, has like, I think 860,000 followers on Instagram. He's also been part of the Banksy Dismaland exhibit, and in the 2015, 2016. We also have some folks that have experience with very talented animators who have experience with, say, Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as album art covers. And then the lower right here on this picture here is from Rob Jabaz, who this is actually one of my favorite pieces, because if you go and click on this thing, his jaw opens up and he makes this really funny noise. I actually think if Jim's around and the Avastars team folks, this actually makes a run for the money for the Avatar business on an NFT side. Anyway, love for you guys to come check out the MachiX gallery. I know Penguin, who spoke yesterday, talked about it and gave us a brief tour. In there, you'll be able to see some of this fantastic art. We're putting these pieces up for sale on OpenSeas. It actually is on OpenSeas now. We're going to close out the bids on next Sunday, May 24th. So certainly hope you can come and join us with this initial art gallery showing. And let's see, what else was I going to say? I had some notes here on this board behind me. Yeah, so in terms of how you can join us, we have a Discord channel with a lot of lively discussion going on. So I've made some bit.ly links here. This one also for the gallery, which is bit.ly MachiX gallery. And then if you want to check out our art, other than going on the gallery, you can directly go into the OpenSea store on the MachiX art. Given that it is an alpha minting with Infi NFT, we have some. I think some of the art still coming online now, but certainly very happy that it is stored both on Arweave as well as on IPFS. And I think that's a good direction for people to go toward more on-chain metadata. And we have our Twitter at MachiX Official, and then we have our DAO. You can read up about how to join our DAO on our article that we put up on Medium as well. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the build, certainly we're very excited to have Penguin and Ghost Agent help with that build, because I've got like zero CV building skills. So yeah, I want to thank them for that. Also, you know, I think back to the thing I said earlier about community, super excited to have kind of the guidance that Sparrow, Black Dot Art with the Crypto Art School. She's been super helpful and informative in helping me think about some of these things that we're doing. Particularly, we were able to put in some custom fields when we minted this to allow for a copyright section. I think that's super interesting, and that the copyright section, then what we're intending to do is that allow that possibility of, hi, hey, there you are. Other than just saying like, okay, look, this is kind of ambiguous, or that, oh, you definitely, you own the non-commercial rights. It's like, okay, but where does it say that on chain, right? What if a certain website went away? Am I ever going to know that the art that I bought isn't going to turn into something else, or that, how do I know, like, definitively by looking at the art that this thing has a commercial license or not? I think that discussion too is something that we've been going back and forth on our Discord server. Certainly welcome perspectives, but I'll just say that from the problem defined roughly is that from a collector standpoint, you want to know that the thing you bought, you might have spent, I don't know, some people, $10 is a lot of money. Some people it's like $8,000, right? So you bought a piece for $8,000. You want to know that this thing is persisting in the permaweb somehow, somewhere. You want to know that the art cannot be changed out from underneath you, that, you know, it was a really cool piece of art, and because you didn't download it someday, it either got lost because somebody didn't pay for the pin on Pinata Cloud, or that it got changed into a picture of something you don't like. So I think that's definitely a topic that we've been discussing over there. So my goal in thinking about the next step for what we could do from a contract standpoint as well is how do we make it so that, for example, if I owned a piece of art from Sparrow and I said, hey, let's share this one of one, right? And that we went and printed a bunch of T-shirts. Is it possible that the royalty structure gets paid into the NFT, much like what we've done with the music copyright piece? And if it's mutually agreed and everybody's happy about it, then I can be out there selling art that, that she built, but then I can sell a bunch of it and then she gets paid and I get paid, or not. But obviously this is up to the choice of the collector and the creator. So those are some of the thoughts I wanted to share. I also definitely wanted to leave some time for discussion and questions. I went through a lot of things that I think I didn't gave a lot of detail on purpose. I think some of this DAO conversation in itself could be like an hour of a talk. And I definitely am thankful for the experts at Metacartel that helped me learn a bunch of the stuff, like Peter as well. So if any of you have any questions about anything I just talked about, feel free to say that in the comments. I'm looking at the comments now. Certainly you're welcome to ask me later as well. I didn't put my own Twitter handle on here. So I am at Leo K. Here, I'm just gonna say that on Twitter.
We have a couple of questions.
Oh, sure.
Question feature if you want to look at them, but I can read.
Please.
Many corporations have budgets for public art displayed in their buildings. Many banks do this. Do you think that the crypto finance and investment DAOs would purchase crypto art? And would these groups consider sponsoring an artist? And how would someone connect groups to see if they want to do some kind of arrangement like that?
Yeah, I didn't talk much about the ownership side, and I know that this whole whale token thing has been sort of a contentious topic for some as well. Initially, so as a DAO for artists and collectors, certainly it's possible for us to say, all right, now that we've collected these resources and these funds, what we want to do with it is buy and own on behalf of whatever reason, as long as the people who own vote for it, or we can vote to own a certain piece of art. Certainly, maybe not all of us want to spend or have the budget for, a super expensive piece of art that might be thousands of dollars. And yeah, through the DAO. Well, one thing I didn't mention is our portfolio of 59 songs. I haven't finished this yet, but this is part of our path to decentralization, is to take that portfolio of 59 copyrights and also roll that into DAO ownership. So the MachiX DAO would own all of the copyrights that we hold right now. And therefore, every 6 months when royalties are paid from these songs, it gets added into the guild bank. So when you hold a piece of the MachiX DAO, you also own a piece of everything that we own. So in the case that you brought up earlier, is it possible for the DAO to buy art and participate in these corporate settings? I think most certainly. Part of this experiment with the DAO and the benefit of this is that it's all member driven. Like I don't think me and everybody else that's in there now, may have the best ideas by far. So I certainly think that when we set certain numbers, for example, we do hope to, and we do plan on, and we have it in our smart contract to honor those 10% kickback on secondary sales for artists. But there's nothing that says that can't change, either for better or worse for the artists. I think through a DAO vote, you can actually, increase that number from 10 to maybe 15 or cut it down to 5. I mean, these are things that the DAO can change. And sorry, the earlier part of the question, James, did I address all of that? But basically, for the DAO to own art and to participate in art shows with corporations, I think that's certainly yes, and something we'd love to do. Yeah, and you can jump in our Discord and talk more about it.
Good answer. I think generalized for any DAO to purchase art. Very interesting question, and I think you're doing some really great work to answer that question, and experiment with Moloch DAO, and I love to see crypto art projects focused on music, because I think there's a ton of opportunity there, and you're doing some really great, legitimate work finding really talented artists. I'll end with this other question, which is more open-ended. Just wondering, what inspired you to start MachiX?
Yeah, so it's pretty. It is pretty open-ended. My my co-founder in this endeavor, Jeffrey Huang, he is actually, I don't know if any of you on the audience here is aware of Mandarin pop music, but he was part of what was called the LA Boys, which was the first hip hop group here in or boy band, if you want to call it that, in Taiwan. And so he ended up also saying, hey, look, this blockchain thing is super powerful and artists are always getting screwed, frankly. And that's not different, in music, as it's not different in traditional art in the traditional sense, in that content is always getting stolen and content is never really defended. A good example that you can really get upset about is something like YouTube. YouTube really got big on the backs of the content creators, and yet the content creators kind of got nothing for it. And then on top of that, when you think about music as a whole, we wanted to address that piece first because it's like super difficult to get into in terms of all the royalty structures, et cetera. And we're very happy to have done that. But it's like the music market, I also tell people, look, it's almost like you have, you own a bunch of buildings that are super valuable. Like you own a portfolio of whatever, 15, 20, 50 songs, 100 songs. Nobody argues that these songs have no value in them. However, you can't extract value out of them because it's kind of like you own a bunch of homes that only 3 buyers are out there: Sony, Universal, and Warner. And not only was it that they won't buy from you, is that they will only rent from you. And there's only 3 people ever in the world that will rent from you. Like, that's not an open market. So when you tokenize music, you can totally fix this by creating an open market. Certainly, there are a lot of challenges with royalty structures and things of that nature, and then also the streaming business has certainly made the music industry less favorable from the income standpoint. But I think that seeing the problems in the music industry and seeing that the blockchain and tokenization can actually fix this, we think that's super exciting, and that's why we started this MachiX. There was a question in there about multimedia. I certainly think that we have some files here in the MP4 that are like 160. There's another one that was the one with the dancing girl. Let's see, what was that? This one on the lower right is actually like 160 megs. So it's all stored on chain. And so the question about multimedia art being on a blockchain certainly is something that is not only possible, but it's doable today. I would though caution that if you want to do music as it relates to that, we need to have more conversations about how the rights are handled and registered. I mean, I think there are ways around this currently convoluted and opaque system, and I think that's another topic for another day. So thanks for having me. Really appreciate James spending all this time and effort in the community for doing this. Yeah, if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to join our Discord, or hit me up on Twitter, or you can also find me in most of these channels on I'm also in the Rare Art Fest Telegram. So thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much, Leo, and really glad you are part of the festival and look forward to seeing how MachiX evolves over time.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Okay, we're live here with Nate from Mintbase, and I'm excited for this presentation. We'll get it started.
Howdy, my name is Nate, Mintbase, the creator. Feel free to just throw a bunch of questions in there and I'll try and explain some stuff. But for the most part, I'm just going to show a whole lot of what we built. I'm pretty excited about this thing. I hope you can see it. Can you see my screen pretty well? So what in the heck is Mintbase? It's a kind of a big question. So the big point to Mintbase is kind of exploring. We're trying to figure out what these NFTs are. So I think we're just getting started with like, great, here's blockchain. How do we actually make use of it? And now we're starting to enter this new realm of, all right, we have a token. What does that mean? So I would argue none of us really know. All of us are kind of trying to figure it out. Is it the main image, the most important thing? Is this token going to unlock to give me a source file? Is this the new future of how I'm going to get into a Netflix video? We don't know, but it's pretty exciting to figure it all out. Our big point is that we want these tokens to do more than be a collectible. I feel like we're just starting. This is what I love about the artist community, because it's just a community of experimenters. And I feel like Mintbase is such a good platform for experimentation. Not only because our interface works and looks okay, but also because we have a pretty amazing developer environment. And this is going to be really big in the future for us. And we're also really pushing to make things as decentralized as possible. So what I'm going to be doing, so we have 613 unique deployed stores on Mintbase. What that means is you deploy your own smart contract through a really easy interface. So right now we're on mintbase.io. I'm going to switch to a rinkeby.mintbase.io. Now this is available for all of you guys to go to. So if you are now on this, then you can go to this neat.
Nate, you want to? I think you got to share your screen.
Oh, am I not sharing my screen? That's tough news.
Sorry about that.
All right. Let's share the screen. All right, cool. Can you see me?
Yeah, there we go.
Cool. All right, so here we are. Can we see some stuff?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, so you can see this beautiful number, 613 deployed smart contracts. Where this number is actually coming from is this beautiful thing called the Vraf. So this is another company that made programming on the blockchain doable, in my opinion. This is really what's going to do a lot of growth for a lot of dApps. But essentially, this is 80% of our back end runs off of this thing. Basically, every time you interact with Ethereum, this thing listens to those interactions from the smart contract and says, oh, did something get minted, transferred, burned? Once that happens, then it spits data out to IPFS, and then we track all that. So here's just one query where we have 613. Anybody can actually come and hit this endpoint and actually get all of this data. This is, I won't go too deep into the developer side, but this is kind of the magic behind Mintbase. So when you create your store, we're setting it up so people can create stores that interact with your store. So, and that's on mintbase.io. You can see that 613. So right now I'm going to go into this thing called rinkeby.mintbase.io. So this is a test network. I don't know if you went into your little MetaMask dude here, and you've probably seen different networks, right? So if I go to mainnet, we're dealing with real ETH. If I go to Rinkeby, we're dealing with fake ETH, where the whole world can interact with my application and test using fake ETH. Check out the faucet, get some fake ETH, anyone can grab it. I'm going to be working off of this just to kind of show you the process. I know Sparrow's in here. We got some of her beautiful cats going on and a whole bunch of other items. But what's really different about Mintbase is let's just start. All right, so we can connect with Fortmatic, Coinbase wallet. So if you want to connect with your actual wallet on your phone, you can do that. We're going to do MetaMask just to show how things work. So here is my little display. So art. So here's one smart contract, right? So this allows you to deploy as many smart contracts as you want as your own different individual store. So let's go into, let's say, full node. If full node wanted to tokenize all of their memberships, they can come in here and basically create their free Wi-Fi, flex desk, and so on. Let's go Arweave. We're also starting to mess around in that land. But if we want to, let's say let's create a whole new store from scratch. Let's call this, what is this? The Rare Art Fest. So we're going to create and deploy our own store. Rare Art Fest is the contract. So as soon as we deploy this store, we go, okay, neat, pending creation. So once this does get deployed, then you can mint all of your NFTs on this contract. So we're basically waiting. As soon as that then confirms, then we get redirected. And now we have our own contract that we can come in here. We can mint a lot of neat stuff. Let's upload an image. Maybe this nice little train. We can declare what this thing is. Is it art? Is it tickets, memberships? Is it for gaming? We can declare how many we want. We can say this is maybe a free rail pass. Does neat stuff. We can add when the dates of this thing is available. We can add location, Berlin. That's where we're at. If you're going to launch a blockchain company, I would suggest coming and hanging out. We're going to go ahead and click mint. And now we're just going to kind of wait for that thing to confirm. So let's say we are now winning, pending. How am I doing on time? 6 minutes. I think we're cranking. Okay. So what we just did is we told the blockchain, hey, mint this token. So the graph just basically said, okay, Ethereum just updated. Now I'm going to update. That's this thing. Remember this guy? So this guy then spits out new data that says a new mint just happened. And now our interface basically says, cool, here's the mint. So what's really fascinating about this is other companies, your company, you as a coder can also latch on to this graph and basically build your own stores on your own site. Everyone keeps telling me, why don't you have the unlocking feature? What's really neat is you can come in and build your own unlockable content. You can build your own website that says, does this person own this token? And then you can display what you need or don't need. So let's get even weirder. If we want to start redeeming this in real, let's go into, let's say, DevCon DApp. Let's go here. So we're doing conference tickets specifically because it's that aha moment of people say, okay, here's this digital thing. How does it get translated into the physical world, which a lot of artists are also trying to figure out. I'm super excited for DAppCon to launch. It's going to be one of the largest NFT-only ticketing events. But if you want to come in here, you buy a ticket. They have our embeddable store. You have buy with ETH, and then you have this neat new thing called credit debit. We have the ticket. We have buy with credit debit. So if I take this, and so I'm signed in, we use 3box. So we're trying to use as many companies as possible to integrate with. But how do I buy with credit and debit if I have no idea what the hell blockchain is, right? So if I log out, if I'm a user who's just kind of a fresh human to this world, I go, ah, yeah, that's familiar. So if I come in here, you get all these different choices. You can use Wallet Connect, which I can connect with Gnosis, Trust, or Argent. I can have Fortmatic. We can do MetaMask. But if I have no idea what the heck all this stuff is, I can actually do a create wallet. And what that does is that opens up a Fortmatic process. And just to save me from showing you guys my credentials, I won't actually do that. But as soon as that goes through, it verifies my email, and then we can pay with credit or debit. So I think that's a massive aha for onboarding new users in the future, is that we're now in this world of lowering that barrier and making it easy to mint. So we're also exploring the physical redemption. So let's say we're in DAppCon, right? Let's go and do something weird like this. Let's shrink this down a little bit. I'm going to connect my phone. Let's see how I'm doing on time. Can't see the hide 10 minutes. I think we're still doing pretty good. Okay, so let's do a quick screen share. I'm gonna do my computer. Let's go 6409. Okay. So I'm going to connect my phone. Let's say I'm someone who wants to buy your art and come pick it up later, or get into a conference, or so on. And I actually own the NFT on my other side. So if I come in here to my DevCon dApp, I own all these things. I have 41 sweatshirts, press passes, developer tokens. So we're gonna sign in. That's what we're gonna do. I need to be on the right network. So let's go ahead and sign in. So obviously, if I'm the customer on the left, I can't just show you this picture and say, hey, I have a press pass to get into your thing, right? I'm on the Coinbase wallet and you're in the collectibles. That's not super secure. But what we can do is come into the builder. We can select our DevCon dApp. We can go to this thing called Redeemer. So what we're doing is we're basically flipping the redeeming process on its head. So like going into airport security, you get a unique custom code, you use that custom code, you check in, everything's copacetic. But if someone gets that image, they can cancel your flight. Like let's say someone's excited, they have the QR code and they post it on Twitter, anyone can basically redeem that. What this is we're connecting your phone to the dApp. So you can see we have 3 checked in. If I go, okay, so the user's going to check in, they're using Coinbase. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually connect my phone using this funny little thing. There's Kyle. Hello. This is our beautiful apartment in Berlin. But I'm going to go ahead and scan this son of a gun. And what we're doing is we're connecting my wallet to my dApp. Whoa, that's quite neat, I think. But we're not done yet. We have all these things, right? What do we want to actually connect? So I have 3 checked in. You have a lock here. If I want to redeem the press pass, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click redeem. And as soon as I do that, it's going to ask for my signature. So now I've got this solid connection that says this person is the owner of this wallet. And then I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, I want to redeem that. I do the facial recognition. We unlock. And look at that. We got four humans checked in. Pretty flippin' neat, if you ask me. I think it's neat. The biggest problem with all this is that we're literally a team of just 2 people doing all this. So our marketing is not amazing. So I'm going to, what else should we do? Where are we at now? Let's center ourselves a little bit. We have 13. When do we start doing questions? Usually midway, right? Yeah, real neat.
No rush.
Cool. All right, so let's do some other stuff. What else should we do? So we just added these guys, gas fee. It's been super high lately. It's super high right now. That's not cool.
Profile page.
Huh?
Profile page.
Profile page. Oh, so okay. So how are we doing this whole Stripe integration, right? This is it's a little bit under the hood. So maybe we shouldn't go too deep into that. But what we're trying to do in the profile page, here's all my smart contracts. We want to familiarize our users into what this neat new thing is, right? You get all these ERC 721 functions. So this is what we're talking about when we talk about ownership. Ownership is a very, very interesting question. Like there's so many levels to ownership. People are asking about everything needs to be on IPFS. Do you actually own that file if it's on IPFS? Even deeper is, can I move that file to a different system? I won't go into that. But what we want you to do is basically come in here and figure out this stuff. So you can go into holders. You can go and check out and see all the different contract functions. Let's say I actually want to, okay, here's a good grounder. So I have all these contracts, right? Woodstock, that's not that cool of a contract. What if I want to delete it, but I haven't had the time to write the functionality into my system? What you can do is you can go to share market. You see this little hash here, you can click that. Now we've got a read contract. We get all this neat information like total supply, who's the owner of the token. Anyone can hit these things. Let's say write contract. So what I'm going to do now, this is Etherscan. Etherscan is another company that has nothing to do with Mintbase. This is the real mind blower of what blockchain is. Anything that you do on a blockchain dApp should be recorded within Etherscan. This is kind of that moment of like, okay, this is where the ownership begins. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit OK. I'm now connected with my Web3. If I want to destroy this contract, since I'm the owner, I can't destroy any of your contracts. You, as the deployer, can only destroy your own contract. I'm going to hit right. We're going to murder this thing. So now if I go back into here, so right now we just told the blockchain, hey, murder that. Here's all my different smart contracts. Woodstock's it's already disappeared. So it just got murdered. I no longer have it anymore, but that just goes to show you that I can actually edit things on that without it. It's just my different, So either way, just inform yourself. Nothing's black and white in this whole world. It's more of, there's certainly right and wrong in a certain regard, but yeah, let's go into questions. I'm gonna go back into here. And what else? We got some wowzers. Hi, Matthew. 3box, super neat. That's a whole other presentation. Yeah, agreed. What happened to the token associated with that contract? They're murdered. So essentially, think of like immutability is quite neat, right? If we go back in time to those blocks, your contract will always exist. That's a thing that will just forever be there. But from here on out, no more blocks will have that within the state. It's been murdered to death. So yeah, oh man, I got a whole lot of notifications going on.
There's another question. Are you going to support music and video files, and what is the file size limit?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, guys, like for one thing, it's just two of us, and we'd love to support as many things. I think sometimes everyone wants to crank up the size of the NFT, right? We want 30 megabit something or others. I kind of view the main NFT image almost as like the thumbnail and the window into the true value of what the NFT should be and do. Just like a Netflix thumbnail, that's the thing that enters your brain into, all right, starts orientating you of what this thing can do. Now we've built this dev ecosystem that you guys can create your own weird websites that then grab into this thing and do your own unlocking and create your own. Like maybe you create one NFT on our platform that's the auth to get you into a thing, and then you create your own MP3 system, and that one NFT that you create on our platform is what unlocks all of these other things. So, but that said, I want to build all the things all day. So yes, I would love to have a sound enabling sound, and moving everything to Arweave is a big focus now. We're doing a whole lot of research and doing some grant applications. So getting everything off of our Google Cloud is definitely a priority. The hardest part was literally the management of the tokens, which is flipping hard. And then the management and syncing of the blockchain, and then managing several different of your own smart contracts, also very, very difficult. Auto verifying, we're making huge leaps and bounds. And yep.
We got another question about the roadmap. What's up next? And I mean, you built so much awesome stuff already, but I'm sure you got lots of ideas.
Yeah, slowly rolling out our Stripe integration. The onboarding process is pretty damn automated. We're still non-custodial. Sparrow will tell you it was pretty easy. It's the same way Uber drivers go, so that's a big deal. DAppCon, I really want as many companies as possible to interact with these things. I would love for the owner of a DAppCon ticket to run faster and maybe another video game, or maybe get superpowers and crypto voxels if you're the owner of that. I mean, this is the start of like really showing off what these tokens can do. The interoperability, ownership, super, super important. And we're just getting there.
Very
10
cool.
minutes. Yep.
I mean, it's one of the most impressive products I've seen in the crypto space ever. Like, you've done such great work, and you're a small team, and I wish you all the luck in the world. We definitely should have had tickets for Rare Art Festival on Mint Base. We have free tickets, but it's definitely worth doing for the next one. Or I'll be pushing for it. Any chance I get. Thanks again for being part of the festival and sharing what you're building.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having us. This is awesome. There's a lot of people in here. Look at that.
Well, if there's no more questions, we can keep it moving. All right. Oh, we do have a question. It's a little bit confusing, but Mari wants to know what inspired you to do your videos and music. I didn't know if maybe you've created videos and music, but
no videos and music yet. Which video? Like my own videos and music?
That's what they said. Maybe I'll switch the question into just asking what inspired you to start Mint Base.
That's a super long question. I worked for a company where you swipe your debit or credit card at Starbucks, and we'll give you fractional shares of publicly traded stock as a reward. So go to Starbucks, get 0.0021 shares of Starbucks stock. Go to pay your electric bill, same thing. Saw the nightmarish system of what our financial system is, because we dealt with credit card purchasing and stock purchasing, and just it's so archaic. It's insane. People are literally sending CSV files around with sensitive information to companies, and you deal with a company that deals with another company that deals with another company. Working with Stripe has been a big eye-opener to realizing how painful the current financial system is. After working 2 years solely on a blockchain, it's like, here's this settlement layer where any entrepreneur can basically tackle it. And our financial system is, here's Stripe, here's their settlement layer. We all have to work through Stripe, and hopefully they made everything easy. And then the company over here says basically, hey, we're going to charge you 35 bucks. Just trust us because our server says it's 35 bucks. But in reality, in blockchain, it's like, you do the confirmation. You're the owner of your wallet. You're the bank. You say you want to spend 35 ETH, then you spend 35 ETH. That's a big difference. Big difference. And it's another discussion with central exchanges moving in that direction. I can go very hard into that, but for the most part, that this is the big revolution. It's that you own your keys, you own your wallet, you make your decisions, and hell yeah.
Hell yeah. And Duncan just reminded me that last year's after party had tickets on Mint Base. So we have done some work with you already. And Ori from Dorg led the after party, just to give a shout out there.
Cool.
But yeah, thanks again, man. I really appreciate you being part of this, and looking forward to seeing where Mint Base goes in the future.
Cool. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right.
Did he close it?
Yep. Wow, that was so good.
Wait, let's not say anything because I'm not sure if I'm really turned off.
All right. So our next presentation is going to be on Zoom because of the limitations of Crowdcast. We needed to switch up the platform. Hopefully everyone will jump and join us there. It's going to be with Ness Nisla, and they're talking about Crypto Wiener, and she's got some friends, and it should be really fun. Hope you all click the link I shared in the chat. It's on Twitter and Telegram and Discord, and anywhere you want to find it. Please join us over there, and we'll get it started as soon as possible. And I think what I'll do is I'm gonna try to screen share and be in the Zoom. So if anyone can't join, hopefully that works. I don't know what you mean, Bench. You want to do subtitles? I don't know. I don't know how to do that, but we can. I'll Google it in between now and your talk and try to figure it out. You can message me on Telegram if you want to troubleshoot. And we have time for any presenters who are on right now. You'll have the opportunity to join the green room, and we test everything before going live. So no worries. But yeah, if you just send me the link on Telegram or whatever, I'll look into it. Definitely want to include anyone who can't hear what we're saying, and yeah, I'm going to jump over to the Zoom.
Yeah, we have the spammer.
Okay.
And we have the first Zoom bomb.
Yeah.
Admin, okay, das ist.
Nice name.
Du willst jetzt aber auch nicht gemacht haben. Vorsicht. Das kann nicht sein. Ich glaube, der hat einfach den Username Zoom Admin.
Kick him.
Ben.
Klar.
Sorry for the spam in the chat. Okay. Screencast is up at broadcast, so I think we can start now. Just 1 second. That's everything. So yeah, hello and welcome to our CryptoVina Pixel Art project talk today. Agenda for our talk is Julie will introduce our front crew. Ross will give a short overview about the CryptoVina's project and why we started it. I will explain the anatomy of a CryptoVina and why we think that the NFT standard is a revolution for the digital space. Bernd will talk about our special fork of the crypto personalities and also some technical possibilities of NFTs. Jan will give us a brief overview about our activities on Instagram and OpenSea. And last but not least, Andy will talk about our CryptoVoxes gallery, and Ross will also join with some in-depth insights about our parties and collaborations. So let's start with Julie with the introduction of our front team.
Hi, thanks for joining us. We are the Front Team, a group of artists and creative people based in Vienna. And since about 2 years, we are meeting on a regular basis to discuss crypto and help each other with trading, staking. And we also got deeper into NFT collecting and NFT arts. And we work on several projects together. One of them are the CryptoVinas, which simply means a Viennese person in German. I know it's a bit confusing because Wiener is a word that has many, yeah, you know, but it's not what you think. It's just this person from Vienna. So now let me hand over to Ross, who will tell a bit more about the project. You're muted, Ross.
Thanks, Julie. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, hi. My name is David, as known as Ross. I'm the founder of Ron and the creator of the first Crypto Venus, and I'm responsible for the technical sides. And the aim of our project is to capture Austrian culture chain, and we were looking for a way to reach the general public and explain it easy, the blockchain technology. And so we created an easy and colorful project where everything is tokenized. And just unique channels are our crypto winners, which are Lavender Austrians as pixel artworks immortalized on the blockchain as ERC721 token. Yeah, and I hand it further to Nisla, who got deeper into the anatomy of our collectibles.
Thanks, Ross. My name is Bernhard Nessler. I'm a graphic designer based in Vienna. I publish digital art under the name Nisler or Ness Nisler, and I love pixels. With the Crypto Venus, we have reinterpreted personalities and originals which are rooted in the Austrian culture as pixel art characters and immortalize them as NFT tokens on the Ethereum blockchain. To create a 32 by 32 pixel art image, which should also be recognizable, is also a bit a challenge because you are very limited to 32 pixels, but we like these challenges. A good start to create a very small and minimal pixel art image is to choose a situation that is well known for the specific personality you want to draw. You usually start with the face and the body and create the character first, and then add relevant detail to create or to complete the scene. You should also not be afraid of taking out some details, like, for example, noses. Some of our characters don't have a nose because the nose didn't fit the face. Some others have noses because, it looked good and didn't disturb the overall look of the artwork. We have an internal background where we focus on the recognizable, when we focus on if the character we painted is recognizable, because otherwise it wouldn't fit our collection. Which also brings us to the point why we choose NFT tokens and use the blockchain technology for our project. Because before we discovered NFTs, we found that digital images and other digital artworks do not enjoy the prestige in our society they deserve, and are often considered as worthless and easy to duplicate because they're digital and not physical. But NFTs, we can prove and authenticate that our artworks are unique artworks we created and stored as tokens on the blockchain. So this empowers us as digital artists to be a bit more independent, self-determined from just working for a client or freelance jobs. And it also brings in the aspect for us that we can also support other projects to help raise funds, like we did for the Crypto Personalities project, which we'll now talk a bit more. So let's switch to Bern, 1 second.
Hello, I'm Bernhard. I'm a blockchain security expert who is also interested in NFT art. I do pixel art myself from time to time. I have drawn some of the Crypto Venus minis, and I like to hang out in crypto voxels and visit virtual atriums and hang out with the other cool artists there. I've been with Ron for a while now, and recently in April I was involved in an interesting project where we were raising funds for fighting the COVID pandemic. So what we did was to release a special collection of pixel art NFTs called Crypto Personalities. Those were also 32 times 32 pixel images, but this time showing famous influencers from the international cryptocurrency space. And the goal was to auction those NFTs off on OpenSea and raise funds for projects dedicated to fighting COVID-19 in various ways. We got a good response on social media. We got retweets from several important crypto influencers, and all in all, we managed to raise 10 Ether over 1 week, which equals 1,800 euros. And we then donated those funds via Gitcoin, an Ethereum-based freelancing and crowdfunding platform. Yeah, the cool thing about Gitcoin is that it's an open platform, and you can propose projects that can be funded with cryptocurrencies in a peer-to-peer way without a lot of fees, and you can instantly reach a global audience with that. On Gitcoin, we still have 5 grants related to COVID, including crisis aid in Kenya and producing masks and test kits, which were then shipped to hospitals in need. Yeah, and with that, I'm gonna hand off to Jan, who is gonna talk a little
with a crypto art director, which means that I also help with the drawing with some of the crypto winners, and I also help with managing the Instagram channel where we share a winner every day, a crypto winner. And Instagram is especially very good for audiences not into blockchain, not into cryptocurrencies, and connect to our project in a way that has nothing to do with crypto per se, bringing the blockchain to the masses, as to say. And as I used to say, like, if you have a winner, no, you don't, okay. Experiencing a winner on Instagram is like holding a winner in your own hands. Of course, having a winner in your hands doesn't mean you own it already or can do anything you want with it. So you need to be in control with the keys associated with the winners, you know? Not your keys, not your crypto winner. And so here's a very basic, simple step guide to get hands on your own crypto winner. It's first you get your hands on some fresh Ethereum. Second is you download the MetaMask Chrome extension for the Google Chrome browser, send the Ethereum there. And final step is just to go to OpenSea.io, log in with MetaMask, and then you select your favorite crypto winner. Be careful, each crypto winner exists only once, so it could be gone or very expensive then, because they're all unique, they're all handmade, yeah, they're originals. Yeah, thank you. And then I'm gonna hand over to Andreas, who will tell us about music and finances.
Thank you, Jan. Hello, my name is Andreas. I'm a musician, and I joined from quite at the beginning. I have the special honor to keep my eye on research and finances. Our goal is to bring the blockchain technology to the public in a snackable way. For this reason, we have created an online art gallery in CryptoVoxels, which is a decentralized virtual space where every visitor becomes a virtual explorer. Anyone with access to the internet can visit our gallery from almost any device, and also do this for many cities from Vienna that we've built with a lot of fine 3D details. The piano in the small cafe in Wien plays generated music by the artist Hans Benzin, and you will find typical Viennese expressions on the walls, which were tokenized with the Ethers contract. You discover central pillars of Viennese culture, and if your avatar gets hungry or thirsty, we got you covered. Drink snacks are handed to you in the form of wearables that you can interact with your avatar with. Those NFT wearables are ERC 1155 tokens and can be collected and exchanged. That was it from my side, and now back to Ross.
Thank you, Andreas. Yeah, the whole gallery and its surroundings act as a virtual meeting room for live events and as a playground for various activities like skydiving without a parachute. We did yoga classes. We have a public graffiti wall. We do virtual beer tasting. And of course, we do our live concerts, our stage. So next to our gallery in CryptoVoxels, we built up a fully equipped stage where we try to give local artists and musicians a platform to show their arts and spread their music. So as a visitor, you can enjoy music, you can dance with your friend and play around with the wares to the right outfit for the party. And the backstage area where you can further information about previous concerts and link to music or websites of artists. We had some great collaborations in the last month and great concerts. Local bands and DJs from Vienna streamed the music live. And from the first parties on, we also had great cooperations with Eve Gang and Da Records. And we share a lot of experience, fun, and talent. So shout out to the gang. We also have collaborations with the podcast posse from Vienna, where one can listen to their crime stories also in our virtual city. And we also cooperated with Marble Cards, who created a special version card of 2 of our crypto winners. And yeah, one of our events was sponsored by Status, and we offered tickets via Kickback. Yeah, and we had some talks at non-con convention and other blockchain and art conferences. And so I give the word back to Nisla.
Thank you, Ross. That was our talk about our CryptoWiener pixel art project. If you have any questions, please ask them in the chat. There is already one question over at Crowdcast from Mira. She's asking what inspired us to create this world of wonder. I think she means our CryptoVoxels gallery. The inspiration came because we discovered CryptoVoxels as art galleries for our crypto art projects not related to CryptoWiener, and we thought it's a bit more, even in the virtual world, more 3D feeling if you can walk through the gallery and touch the images by yourself and also experience them. Also see some other visitors with their avatars inside the gallery walking around. So this is a bit of a cooler experience than just having a website, listing it in a gallery or so let's see if there are some other questions in our Zoom Discord. Just some spam things. What I'm doing from this year, we're doing fine. We're having fun with our project and the virtual Rare Art Fest here. So if there are no more questions, I think that's it for now. We would like to invite you all to our virtual art gallery in CryptoVoxels. We will share the link in the chat over at Crowdcast, since there are some more people than in our Zoom call. And yeah, thanks for inviting us for this virtual art fest. It's really a big honor for us to talk about our project. That was very time consuming from the beginning of this year till now, because we had some milestones to manage, like the Austrian Blockchain Award or talk at the Drexel University associated with the MIT some weeks ago. So yeah, big milestones behind us and some very cool things on the roadmap for the next weeks and months. So thank you all for joining, and have fun with the rest of the conference today. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, and thanks for having us.
All right. Hopefully everyone could join over there and enjoy that presentation. Know that Crypto Wiener is just one of many awesome projects they're working on, and I'll be sharing the video from the show at MIT after the festival, and it's really good to watch. You should all check it out. But thanks again to the whole team, Nisla and the rest of them. Thanks for sharing what you're doing, and looking forward to where it goes in the future. We're gonna move right along. We're a little ahead of schedule. But up next is David Moore of Known Origin. I'm going to move it to the next presentation. We'll get set up and then go live in a minute. All right, we're live with David Moore of Known Origin, and he's part of the family, here at Rare Art Festival, and really appreciated his contributions last year, and looking forward to this presentation.
Cool. Just hi everyone. Thanks for sticking around. Just been watching the last two talks. Incredible stuff. One of the things that I'm really impressed with is kind of the consistency of how many people are on these sessions. So let me just do a quick screen share and then we'll crack on. In the meantime, if whoever wants to, I think it'd be really cool just to see what different locations people are watching this presentation in. So if you want to drop in the chat kind of where you are right now, that'd be awesome. You let me know when you can see the first screen.
I can see it.
Awesome. So, hi, I'm David Moore. I'm one of the co-founders of an Ethereum arts platform called Known Origin. There's also two other co-founders called James Morgan and Andy Gray. Together we are a UX designer, myself, product and UX, and two blockchain developers. So yeah, Known Origin, we have around 300 artists that can contribute and create some awesome artwork that is obviously backed by a blockchain. But I'm not actually going to talk about KO today. What I actually want to talk about is the kind of innovation life cycle that we're in right now, and kind of it's very rare that you get an opportunity to have 300 plus people on the same call at the same time that have got vast expertise, lots of knowledge. And I kind of get these crazy ideas in my head about where we are in terms of innovation and kind of life cycles of a product. So what I want to do is kind of just get that out there today and use this opportunity to kind of get that out there. So this is a typical kind of innovation life cycle diagram. You get your innovators, you get your early adopters, then you have this thing called the chasm, which is like usually the tipping point, and then you have your early majority, your late majority, then your laggards. So people have kind of, I've seen things before where people kind of say we're down here, where it's like the people who want new things, we're like really over here on the tip of the innovators. I actually see it slightly differently. I think we're in a space which I've kind of coined as like this experimental phase. And this is where we all are at the minute. We're all these kind of pioneers, and I've put like the people who are happy to take risks. And what do I mean by that? This is typically where you have the scientists, the artists, the bohemians, essentially the mavericks of any new technology. And this has happened kind of time and time again. And I've kind of just put this together to illustrate like kind of the melting pot that we're in, the mix that we're in right now. This isn't an exhaustive list. This is just showing kind of we're all experimenting. Things are going to fail. Things are going to break. The Ethereum network's going to get clogged up. But when I'm saying everyone's here right now, I include the builders, the artists, the makers, even the people that are taking a risk on buying these things. I think it's just really important to kind of almost forget about the kind of traditional model of adoption of products and adoption of apps and adoptions of technology. We're in this whole new world. So I just wanted to kind of start there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw parallel to a thing called the Experiments in Art and Technology, EAT. And this essentially is an exhibition or an experiment that happened in 1966 in New York. It was 10 New York artists, and they were working with scientists, engineers, programmers, computer scientists, and it's for a thing called the Bell Labs. And it was called 9 Evenings. And over these 9 evenings, they basically created and showcased the latest technology. And the way they did it was they brought artists and engineers and scientists and technologists together and just kind of let them go crazy, which is kind of where I feel we are still in the kind of NFT space. So the things they explored, the bleeding edge technology they explored were cellular communication, neon, early computer graphics, early gen art or generative art, interactive soundscapes, early examples of virtual images using lights and mirrors, early remote control systems, videos triggered by music and sound, alpha waves, first use of CCTV, and some really early infrared technology that they borrowed off the US military. I would suggest clicking on, I'll share this link in the chat, and just is a really good kind of retrospective video about the project. But what I wanted to kind of just draw some parallels with was the early computer graphics, the early gen art, and the kind of virtual images. And here's kind of a rundown of the artists that were involved. So obviously Andy Warhol's huge name, Robert Whitman, David Tudor, and some of the notable engineers, John Price, Max Mathers. So this is one of the first kind of computer generated design artworks, and it's made up of 6 layers of kind of mathematical equations. And I just wanted to show that kind of the artist is just referred as like Bell Labs, but this was a really early example of computer art. This is a piece called Soundings, and it was a very early example of what they described as virtual images or virtual worlds, and it was made up of lights and glass. So you essentially walk into a room and you'd be in pitch black, and it was only when you spoke that the artwork would light up, but you couldn't tell if there were actual images, actual physical pieces behind the glass, or images that have been screen printed onto the glass. And they created these strange worlds where you couldn't tell what was reality and what was kind of fake. And I'm going to finish with the Andy Warhol piece that was, his initial idea was to create this this room where light bulbs were floating, suspended by nothing. And the engineer kind of pulled him back a little bit and said, well, imagination's great, but we need to have some sort of way of delivering this. So they looked at how they could build this cloud installation, a mix of like a brand new kind of material and helium. And they kind of they built these huge clouds that people could walk around, and kind of the reflections of themselves within these clouds were really quite a stunning piece. So I just wanted to show that when you bring artists and kind of technologists together, kind of that's when the exciting stuff happens, and that's kind of where I feel we are right now. And I guess the question is, like, what could be the next wave of innovation in the NFT space? And kind of what this is my kind of mad kind of view of what might be next. Big caveat, I could be massively wrong, and I'm kind of basing it on just kind of stuff that I'd love to see. So I'll just continue. So typically innovation needs these things that kind of accelerate. So global behavior changes. So obviously COVID-19 has forced the world to work remotely, and it means people are spending more time in their houses. So they're investing more in that kind of home living and home offices. This has also had a big impact on like VR, video calls, record spikes of adoption. G5 infrastructure is also going to be a big fundamental for mixed reality. And then scales of economy, as these things scale, the cost of the hardware will come down. So VR kit will come down, AR headsets and screens. They'll all reduce in price, which means ultimately we'll have more screens in the home. And then a generational shift. So we have a generation of people coming through that are already digital natives. They already have a much deeper understanding of kind of the value of digital assets, much more than me. There's a whole generation that's kind of grew up with this narrative. So kind of wish list number one is kind of VR and immersive experiences. And so I did a talk maybe 10 months ago in Amsterdam, and I kind of was saying that it would be great to have VR on the blockchain and with NFTs. And I'm super excited how quickly we've got there. Like 10 months later, there's like Solomon Space, crypto voxels, Decentraland. But what I'm really excited about is the next wave of innovation, the ability to kind of showcase and support these VR file types as NFTs within these platforms. What I really want to do is have the ability to kind of jump into these worlds with a headset on, walk rounds. While I'm walking around, I can own that experience. And what I mean by that is, as I'm walking around, my experience is being recorded where I'm looking, and then I can just add that to my wallet, essentially creating like a bank of virtual memories, which I can go back to and no one can take off me. I can play back and remind myself of these experiences. And the other one is some sort of VR avatar standard. So I can create this like virtual identity. And when I go into any one of these platforms, it's me, it's a representation of me. So if I go to Sun and Space, I appear the same when I go to Decentraland, Crypto Voxels, or Sandbox. That's something kind of I know some guys are looking at the minute. And the beauty of this is that if we could support these VR files within, say, Crypto Voxels, I can then fly around it. I can then explore it and climb through it and kind of see the different layers of how it was built as a huge structure rather than a flat image. Because I guess VR is meant to be experienced as an immersive environment. What I want to do is I'm just going to quickly jump out of this if I can and just play a quick example of what I'm talking about. Oh no, pushed my luck too far. So can you see this?
We can see it. Oh, maybe.
Let me, there we go. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it.
So the reason I wanted to show that particular piece is because I think it kind of shows that there's two artists there that have essentially, Crypto Spectre and Space Painted have built this thing. They've recorded it, the fly through, and it's the fly through is the artwork right now. But what I'd love is to be able to experience that myself and go into that art piece and fly around it myself and explore it in the way that they have. I think there's massive potential there to do that. So I'll go on to the next kind of thing that's something that I'm always kind of banging on about and talking to James and Andy about how I kind of see this thing going forward. And I describe it as like immersive homes. So we already have the ability to change the mood, the lighting in our house from anywhere from any room. We can change the lighting in our houses. We can change the mood to suit whether it's how we feel or whether it's a dinner party or whether we're having a house party. We can also do this with Sonos and music, and the kind of natural progression for me is why can't we do this with the visuals that are in our house? So what I'm talking about is if screens replace canvases in our house, and if I'm having a house party, the art I own, I can literally choose to have these different artworks in different rooms to represent either the theme of the music or how I'm feeling in that room. And if I'm having friends over and I want a chilled experience, I can then flick and change the art. And so I always bang on about this. Screens are set to replace picture frames, and digital art will become commonplace within the homes of the future. And I'm hoping that when I speak to either my son when he's looking to buy a house, the idea that we would knock in holes in the wall and hanging these static timber framed canvas things on our walls would just hopefully that would just seem alien to him, or at least his kids if it's two generations away. So yeah, this is it's a I think it's going to be a generational shift. So I don't think it's this is going to happen in my lifetime, or maybe hopefully it will happen in my lifetime, but I think it will certainly happen in my son's lifetime. And it's just what we're building right now is kind of just the seeds of where this is going to go. And then I'm going to finish with this I kind of wanted to get this in. It was a kind of a last minute addition to the talk really, but it's mixed realities and like digital fashion and like physical identities that kind of cross over with digital identities. And this is an artwork by the Fabricant, and what I want to also talk about is the Magic Leap AR glasses. That imagine a world where the technology has reduced to such a point where we can just wear these headsets throughout our normal life, and it's the ability to kind of everyone looks the same because we're all wearing these kind of uniforms, but it's the visual layer over the top, the visual filter that you own over the top, and these identities that you create with this kind of digital fabric that sits over the top of these uniforms that we wear. I know that the Dapper Labs did a iridescent dress, I think it was called, which is essentially a filter over the top of a model. And I'm thinking it goes one step further, where we can literally walk around wearing these kind of suits that allow us to put these digital clothing over the top. And you can only see it through a mixed reality lens, whether it's a glass or phone, glasses or a phone. But it's a bit out there, but it's kind of some of the things we've been speaking about. And this is another thing we've been looking at, which is, I've just discovered this recently, which is essentially creating these visual identities. And it's a digital fashion house that creates kind of digital kind of fabrics that you can layer up and create identities online, and then you can share them. So it's like they're empowering people to become kind of creators in their own fashion houses. I was going to show you the video, but that was a bit tricky last time. And again, we're not trying to kind of change the old establishments. We're not trying to disrupt the old art world or disrupt the fashion world. We're actually trying to just build things for the next generation. I think there's something quite important about we're just laying the foundations, and as long as we get that solid, the next generation are going to take this to places that we probably can't even imagine. Thank you. Let me. How do I stop sharing?
There we go.
Cool. Hi, back.
Thank you so much, David. That was really fascinating.
Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot to take in, and I think I probably went through it quite quickly. But it's an opportunity just to kind of get all this out. And it might sound like the people I speak to that aren't in this scene think I'm crazy. So I need to take these opportunities to kind of just get all these ideas out and talk to you guys.
I'm really interested in that idea of a bank of memories.
Yeah.
It would be opt-in, it wouldn't be like forced on anyone. But the question I have is, if you are recording everything you see and it's in your bank, how do you manage the rights of people that you see and what you're watching out in the world? Right now it's like some kind of
there's no layer in between.
Yeah. There's
that's an interesting. That's kind of why that would be really interesting if you could literally turn off the ability for people to see you. That would be really crazy.
Maybe with those futuristic clothes you mentioned, You
Yeah.
get an invisibility cloak and
Have invisibility cloak on it, and that's it. You're gone.
Yeah,
It's a Black Mirror episode that's similar to this. I'll have to
It
watch
is.
it. But I might dive deeper into this rabbit hole.
the main question is governance of it, because in that episode, if you remember, the government or the authorities can turn off someone in the real world so that no one else can see them or interact with them if
Well,
they
that's-
break the law or do something.
That suddenly gets quite scary.
Yeah, and Black Mirror is a great show for thinking about all the possibilities and the dystopian effects of these
Well,
interesting ideas.
They're the storytellers of our time, right? The people that are making the movies like Ready Player One and writing the novels. They're the storytellers. They're the people that are predicting this stuff, and it tends to happen.
Yeah, and hopefully we coordinate around the best possible version that doesn't, create those kind of horrific problems.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by we just need to get the foundations right so the next generation can take it to awesome places, really.
Yeah, I'm an optimist. I think we can figure it out collectively and avoid those like terrible things.
Yeah, me too.
There's plenty of terrible things happening, so there's reason to believe otherwise. I know that, and it's part of the conversation. It's really good to bring up the challenges and think it through, because you don't always see the potential for that kind of.
Well, that was it. They didn't. I think when the guys when they created like Instagram, they didn't foresee the kind of ethical problems that it would have on society going forward for like younger generations, and the impact that the kind of these platforms have. So we have to have those considerations when we're building stuff.
For sure. We had a question. A lot. Just wondering about your inspiration for starting Known Origin.
So I'm from a creative background. I've been in the creative industries since I finished uni, and like I'm gonna give my age away here, but like 2005. I did a graphics course, and I went into print. Then I migrated over to web, and then I went into apps. And it was while I was working on a project with Andy and James, I was just getting a bunch of artists and creatives together to put on a show. We found a venue and booked a venue, and we were going to put on like a physical show. And they kind of heard me talking about it, and then they said, "Well, have you heard about digital art?" Like, I knew about digital art, but have you heard about the way you can sell digital art and make it scarce? And that was my like light bulb moment, that I had a bunch of digital artists that I wanted to show work and project, but they had no way of selling it, so they weren't that interested. But as soon as we explained that they could put scarcity on the pieces at the show, that was like the whole world opened up then.
Cool. I'm curious to hear just any thoughts on the biggest challenges we have as a small, burgeoning market. I would say it's still very early, but we've seen a lot of opportunities for artists, and there's a lot of potential for growth and further development of the technologies. Do you see any challenges or maybe just opportunities that you'd like to explore?
I love the async stuff. I think the programmable pieces that they've done, because we talked about artwork that changes over time for a while. I think those guys are the first guys to really kind of grab hold of that and kind of play with it and push it forward. I think that's really interesting to me. One of the biggest challenges is always, how do you create a community that's engaged and that people want to join? Because the tipping point will be, we kind of need much more kind of creatives that are non-crypto savvy. So there's like easy ways to onboard, easy ways to create wallets. We had one yesterday. It was like, we got them through all the steps, and then they're like, I can't, how do I upload work? I don't have any ETH. So then as a platform, we're like sending small amounts of ETH just to pay for gas prices, just so they can put work on. So that there's like all these steps that you just have to go through just to get someone to upload artwork. And from a Web2 world, it's like 2 clicks on Instagram, right? You can push something to the web and the world can see it. So we've got to work out how to make these barriers for entry either smaller or remove them completely. We're nowhere near removing them completely, but we can definitely reduce the friction.
Agreed. I'm wondering now about the moderation. We've had a lot of conversations about curation as an art form and governance of platforms like Known Origin. Do you think in the future you'll have a gallery that's moderated by the community, or is it, you know, just intending to be curated in sort of a centralized manner, which has benefits and you know, downsides on both sides?
I think we wrote a paper around the Known Origin DAO, and I think that's one way we could definitely produce a product that allows the community to decide, like who gets invited and all. Well, it's like a community thing. They basically build the whole thing. But I'm always Known Origin is a created content platform. It has been since we did. Remember Jason Bailey's Rare Danks podcast that he did years like in 2018. We were on that, and we spoke then about a created content site. But we've kind of, what we've done now, we've stepped away from that, and we get guest editors to come and create collections. So the platform works that we show the latest work that gets uploaded and any activity. So it's an algorithm that decides what's on the landing page, and then we bring guest editors in to put collections together and show featured artwork. So we don't have any kind of hand in what gets shown on the platform. But I'm a bit nervous around a fully decentralized publishing site, because just because we're talking about decentralization, it doesn't mean that people aren't involved. People still have to make decisions. People still have to take accountability. It's a shared responsibility on the due diligence of what goes out. So if it's a fully decentralized system, then and someone starts using it to publish some sort of like child pornography, who's accountable? How do you stop it? How do you remove it? Like at what point is it? Just because it's a decentralized platform, someone built it and allowed people to use it. It didn't just appear out of the ETH. Someone built it, so someone's accountable somewhere. And as human beings, I'm not sure I want to give people bad characters a platform to have full anonymity, like be fully anonymous and distribute whatever they want. Because there's some bad characters that will take full advantage of that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I love your approach, because I want to see more curators empowered by this technology. And there's kind of a gray area between the collectors and the curators right now, and the collections we have in our accounts are essentially galleries in the digital space, if they're displayed in the right way, and there's potential for a lot more curators and collectors getting involved for that reason, just to show off what they own and have proof that they really own it. But it leads me to another question about the role of collectors, and we've talked a lot about the secondary market, and I'm curious what you think about the need for a strong secondary market in crypto art. And just what is the role of collectors as you see it?
I think secondary marketplace, we had it on our roadmap for a while. Took us a time to get there. We're only a small team, but I think it's the thing that's going to help artists kind of earn a living from what they do, and royalties are huge. I think I read a thing about Hockney's. He sold a painting for something like $60 million. And he got like 0 in royalties back from it. I think he sold it originally for a couple of $100,000. So yeah, I think the future that we can build is to enable that artists, the original creators, always get a kickback from those secondary sales. And let's say a Hackatao goes for crazy money in 5 years' time, and he gets a kickback of like $500,000 or something. There's real kind of we've built it in the right way from the start to enable that. Imagine the legwork you'd have to do if it sold for huge amounts of money to then try and convince the original seller and the original buyer to back pay the artists. We've built these things in such a way that it's programmed in, and it's like, I think that's the real powerful part of the ecosystem. It took Known Origin arguably a lot longer than other platforms to get there, and we got there. And I like the idea that there is a standardization of it, like of 10% back to the artist on secondary sales, and we're kind of getting a standard across the ecosystem.
Yeah, I think it's a cultural problem. I mean, there's definitely technical challenges, but we have to figure out how to enforce it within the culture of our space, because it's not impossible to circumvent the royalties. But yeah. I think, everyone in this space, or at least I hope everyone wants to support the creators, and that's kind of what it's all about, is eliminating the unnecessary middlemen and getting artists more for what they create. And I think there's been an interesting idea floating around of giving artists the ability to decide how much royalties they want to ask for, or like, in their initial offering, they would set the amount of royalties and percentage of the future sales.
Yeah, is it Sasha from Blockchain Art Exchange? He was talking about that, I think.
I guess so. I'm not sure, but yeah, I've heard a few people talk about it, and it seems like an interesting idea. And it's cool to see like all the major crypto art platforms have, or at least most of them, I guess, they're coordinating around this number of 10%. Seems like the norm, which is cool. Like we can work together and figure out
and it's
a standard amount, but maybe it's flexible.
It's configurable in the smart contract, right? So if in a few years' time that it's like the collectors are saying that it's too much, too little, artists expect more, then it's a piece of software. So we can change it, we can adapt, we can iterate over time. But I think a general consensus of 10% was happy for Yeah, you've got to get both sides, right? You've got to get the collector and the artist and the platform. So it's a three-way relationship. So it's always an interesting one. But yeah, it felt like the work that Sparrow did, the work that the stuff that Async Art put out recently, it's like it helped us understand kind of where the sweet spot is, and we can iterate, like I say, over time and make changes if we need to.
Yeah, and I think figuring out a norm at first is the right way to go.
Yeah,
and artists might struggle to figure out what works, because I use the thought experiment of 100% royalties. Artists might try to do that, but who's gonna purchase that kind of art? Maybe a collector who really just wants to own it, and that would mean they probably would never sell it. And so it doesn't really matter what the royalties are in that case. And then on the other hand, if it's a collector motivated by profit, in the secondary market, they're certainly not going to look at 100% royalty example. Like that's all like hypothetical. But if you get up to like 50% or whatever, it starts being a total experiment when we have no idea what the right number is. So maybe gradually ratcheting it up, that's a good way to do it.
And we don't know what the what we expect things to sell for in the next 2 years, right? These original pieces, these pieces that are the really early examples, we might find that there's a new wave of stuff that comes out that kind of just blows us all away, and people are spending big money on that, and they don't want the early pieces because they're too rudimental, or they're too naive, or they might be the earlier the better. Like they want those Genesis pieces, and they might sell for fortunes. We just don't know yet.
Very true. I thought a lot about it, and I do believe in the potential for a secondary market in crypto art. You know, it's a big part of the traditional art market. I just wonder if it's recreating the same problems. I've mentioned it before in this festival, but I think with platforms, you know, enforcing the royalties and creating that culture, it avoids the problem. That's the solution.
It's a cultural change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we can harbor a generation of collectors that don't know any different, then it's a big shift. It's a big cultural shift, and we're trying, right? We're trying our best to do that.
Yeah, I know you are, and we really appreciate the work you're doing. And thanks again for being here. You know, it's always great to chat with you, and maybe someone else or anyone in the audience might have some more questions. Or
yeah, any final questions? Hey, Red Designer, how you doing? Johnny Dollar in the house. Hi, Sparrow. Mate, I've really enjoyed the festival. I think the beauty of it being this kind of virtual world that we've got like 325 people that wouldn't have been we wouldn't have been able to get to Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, that's been one of my favorite parts of it is, you know, being able to accommodate people from all over the world. We've had speakers and all over, you know, the time zone map.
Yeah, crazy.
And you know, we're gonna keep it going. And I think the virtual Rare Art Festival is kind of the glue, or like the bridge between all of the potential rare art festivals, which I hope might be happening all around the world, not just in New York. But you know, I'll keep working and collaborating with as many people as possible to
Superstar, man, superstar. I have a few minutes over, so I'd just like to thank everyone for sticking around. Enjoy the rest of the day. I've got to take my kids for a walk now, so I'll be out for a little while. But yeah, go check out knoworigin.io, and there's all the artwork that you saw in the deck in the presentations available. Well, it's on there. Don't know if it's available. Make an offer. Get the secondary market moving. Okay, guys. Who's up next?
Have a good one.
Take care, man.
You too. All right, everyone, just a brief update. Unfortunately, our next presentation from Twisted Vacancy had to be canceled. They're dealing with an evacuation situation in the COVID crisis, and they were unable to make it. Their family is dealing with a lot, and we wish them all the best and hope they you know, get through it okay, and you know, we'll continue to enjoy the art and support however we can. But we'll be back in about 20 minutes for the next session. We might start a little bit early if possible, but just giving you the update and looking forward to the rest of the day. Thanks for sticking around.